2014. Thank you very much for coming to the Abington Conservation Commission. We have a busy meeting tonight, Commissioners. I'm going to move quickly in. We'll take each of the items as they come very quickly. The first item is open space update. Do we have any update on the open space?
I have not heard anything from Mr. Watson yet.
I sent an email to him saying that it would be nice to get it before the municipal year is over. So that's in June. So at least to get it to the boards, the open space plan. The second thing is the abbreviated notice of intent by the town of Abington for Memorial Arch and Grove Pond. What's the story there?
I didn't hear from anybody, so I don't know what transpired last week.
Okay.
So maybe it just gets continued.
So we'll have to continue it. But Nancy and I were chatting that maybe in future, if somebody wants to continue something, they should actually come to us and ask the commissioners at the actual meeting. Because of course it's going to be continued. It's not a problem at all. And that leads me, and that's a way of keeping track of our projects. And that leads me to DEP number SE 084-481 David Federico for Robbins Avenue project. And I think, do we have a motion, to, a request to continue? We do from Mr. Wheatley, who's here. Thank you very much, Mr. Wheatley. And I ask for a continuance where they're working on the site plan to satisfy all our comments. Thank you very much for coming to tell us that. Do we have a date for another meeting?
May 13th.
Is that okay, May 13th?
May 13th? That's fine.
Is that right? So, do I have a motion to continue it until May 13th?
Motion. Motion so to continue to May 13th.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. So we're going to continue it to May 13th. And just, I didn't begin by saying that we have a quorum tonight. We usually have more members here, but we have 7, but we have 4, so we have a quorum tonight. The next one is DP number 84-478. It's a continued hearing for 275 Chestnut Street, Mr. Vu, in response to our enforcement order. So who do we have here for that? Thank you very much.
Very well. Thank you.
My name is Elliot Paterzo with A.S. Elliott & Associates, representing Mr. Vu. And based on the sidewalk that we had last month, what we're planning on doing is on the bank of the pond, we're going to plant a sweet pepper bush and then put in 20 more trees, white pine and red maple, in the areas where the trees were cut down. And then also along the bank, it was suggested at that meeting on Saturday that we chip up the brush and the trees that are on that peninsula and put that along the bank. So that's what we're proposing. Also, we're going to move the parking lot to the right side of the structure. And the master would like to continue that around and have a one-way out on the other side of the house if that's possible.
So in fact, this map is for something more than what we were talking about. We were talking about replicating or putting back some of the vegetation.
Right.
But you're actually talking about a parking lot too that you're going to put.
We had discussed that on the sidewalk to move the parking on the other side of the house,
Right.
so that it wouldn't be encroaching the pond.
Okay.
Because their original proposal was just to leave it, not to disturb anything further. And that's when we were saying, well, it's definitely too close to the pond. In our opinion, we felt.
How many places for parking? How many parking places are there going to be?
7.
7.
And the master would like to continue this around if possible and drive out.
So he would like to put asphalt or whatever it is right around the house?
Not necessarily asphalt, it could be impervious material, and then just drive out one way. So we had an entrance in and then way out.
How far off the pond do you?
We get it close to the house as we can.
How wide would it be? Single car length?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was one there before. Just the one driveway there before. Right?
No,
Going in.
no.
The previous
Normally it
owners.
was over here.
Previous owners.
They cut this out, they dug this out.
Okay.
No, Normally had it over here.
How many cars? You have 7 parking spaces, but I mean, how busy do you think this is going
I
to be?
suppose if they did it-
Well, on the next
They
sheet,
did everything.
We have a
Look, all right.
conceptual plan of what we'd like to develop in the future.
It's stone.
There it is.
So you have about
This is just
Flip the sheet.
conceptual.
and is there a timeline for that?
Depends on, first of all,
Yeah, right there.
if the commission feels that it's a viable project, and then we have to go through the National Heritage Endangered Species Program to see if they'll approve it.
Where's this?
It's over by the power lines.
Oh.
Are you not here for that tonight, too? Are you booked for that?
No, this-
Yes, you folks asked me to show what
Yeah.
was going to be developed for the entire site, so that's
I
what we
think this
did.
would have to go in front of planning first, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I mean, the conservation problem with that is that there's a lot of parking spaces, it means a lot of cars, it means a lot of oil, and it's right beside the pond. So it's not, I mean, that shouldn't prevent it, it's just we'd have to discuss, I mean, how you're going to trap.
Sure, no, I mean, we'd get into
Pollutants.
detail if it was feasible
Yeah.
to go further.
So do you think that we need, first plan, do you think we need to talk about how you would trap pollutants for that, for just a small 7-car thing? I mean, how would you normally, stop anything? Because we're right on the pond, right? Here, the
Well,
pond's here.
this would be pretty far from the pond. I think it's about 100 feet.
Right. It's 100 feet from the bank. That's the bank
Right.
there.
Right.
Okay. So, but
Is-
the,
Yeah,
I'm confused here. You were gonna put the trees in this area here, that's where all the brush was, correct?
Yes,
They're going right
well,
around.
no, it's in
Oh,
this
right
area.
around here?
Yeah, it's in this
And then-
area right
And this
here.
is proposed parking?
Yes.
later on. I don't even think we can even entertain any of that right now anyway. It's gonna go in front of planning, and
Oh,
they'd
okay.
have to think about
Well,
catch
we-
basins and all
yeah.
that kind of stuff like that, so
Oh.
it wouldn't even come in front of us.
Yeah. that's
Plus,
probably
none of this,
better.
none of the,
I think it's your first name.
Elliot.
Elliot, okay. Oh, yeah, it's Elliot.
and none of this stuff has got
First and last name.
wetlands flags on it or anything else, so it hasn't been
This has all been flagged.
over here now.
Mhm.
All this, yeah, this is all
we saw-
flagged.
We saw the flags.
Well, we're only here for tonight for, they want to do that.
Just for that.
Just for
Yeah.
that.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
I-
it will,
I think we should let them go in front of the planning board on page 2 and
that's what it,
just
I think if
vote
you,
on,
if this
phase
was,
one.
if this was all pitched towards the street, and they put a curb on the outside, like a Cape Cod berm,
is that possible to do that? A Cape
Sure.
Cod berm
on the
around?
outside all the way around, that would
Yes.
keep any of the rainwater, any of the runoff, on the asphalt, on the inside, that would flow out.
Because the reason why I asked that is because this could be a good test case for your bigger, plan insofar as the parking spaces, because that's always the issue
Right.
with the wetlands, is the parking spaces. So if you had some kind of plan that would actually
Okay.
deal with the pollutants that we anticipate, to prevent them from coming into the pond, and the barrier, because actually we have a 200 feet zone, right? Because this is a pond.
Yes.
So it's right in the buffer zone.
And the same thing, as long as the driveway is, a single car length, so that we wouldn't have people deciding to park in the driveway and
Right.
saying these are now spaces.
Okay.
Could that be, is that possible to do? I mean,
Oh,
we're not
sure.
going to put anything in that isn't possible to do.
No, that's possible.
Yeah. So do you think that might be a thing to put a Cape Cod burn?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Well, what are you gonna put the berm on?
Asphalt. It'd be
No,
another.
Doesn't have to make
Well, they're
a,
not-
it's called for
They're
crushed
talking about
stone.
crushed stone,
Does it?
actually. I said asphalt.
you just said he was not gonna use asphalt.
Yeah, he's gonna
On any
use
of the parking
crushed stone.
spaces?
Yeah.
So this will all just be crushed down?
Yeah.
Well, you
We
can buy
could-
individual, you can buy,
Pavers.
not pavers, but individual blocks,
Right.
stopping blocks,
Right.
and you can use them as a berm.
You
They're
did.
like $30 a
You did
piece.
the concrete ones, so
Yeah,
those are cheaper than the granite ones.
yeah, because you can get them right at precast.
Mhm.
And I know they sell them there. And if you butted them up, it's like a berm.
Okay.
And I think they would hold better for you too.
All right.
So are you guys good with the driveway? Yeah.
Does it sound good?
I just have, how far off the pond, just because of the erosion problem that was there before, are the trees gonna be?
I was gonna put them back in the area of the trees that were cut.
Perfect. Good. Good.
Excellent.
Because you don't wanna have new vegetation
Mhm.
getting eroded away.
And then the line of chipped material will be, what, on the outside of those trees also too?
Be from the top of the bank.
All the way down? Okay.
Excellent. Are there any other comments? I'm gonna, while you're looking at it, I'm gonna put it out to the floor. Is there anybody else that wants to talk about it? No? Okay, I'm gonna bring it back. Do we think we could go forward with the orders tonight?
I think we could, Joe, are you pleased with this after the
Yeah.
walk?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's
I'm
dealt
not
with the, it's dealt with the
Everything we,
vegetation and the erosion that you saw. The only new thing that at least was new to me was the parking spaces, and it seems you've
Right.
handled that pretty well.
right.
And then for our homework, we get to look at your plan, which is exciting. You know, that's really exciting.
When you bring this road around, are you gonna put loom back and stuff where that
Yes.
thing drops down, get that
Yes.
stone out of there, and make that like a, let's say, a 9-foot, and then like Michael said, put the
Right.
berms up,
Yeah.
you know, all right.
Yeah, you only need stops here and then come around the other way, like Joe suggested, just to stop any erosion
Right.
from coming back to the
Mm.
house.
Sure.
I think it'll be fine.
Excellent, excellent. For the other part of your project that's coming later on, we did have a thing that came before, I don't know if it came before us actually, it came before the earlier Conservation Commission, but it was Cape Cod Builders or Cape Cod Homes, you know, is it Cape Cod Homes? You know,
Cape Cod lumber?
Cape Cod Lumber. And they had to deal with the parking lot area, and they dealt with it very, very well. So that might be a good project to look at. Did you think?
Okay.
But anyway, let's go forward on that. Do we have
Is that okay?
Sure.
Just go through one?
That's fine.
Okay.
I only brought the other one because you guys wanted to see.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
It's an excellent. Thank you very much for doing that. You're going to the trouble of doing that.
That was well worth the walk then.
Oh, boy.
Oh, did I type these out or you type these out?
I did.
Are we supposed to approve?
So you can mark them.
Excellent, okay. So it's all actually. Are there fish in that pond? Do we know if there's fish in the pond?
I've seen people fishing there, and I've seen fishing lines all over the shores, but
Oh, yeah. A lot of fish on the pond.
A lot of fish.
oh, that way.
Okay. All right, I was quickly going through the orders here. We'd actually drafted this in part beforehand. Actually, it is subject to the stormwater standards, I think. Okay. Sorry. Okay, I did it right. All right. So looking at, let me pass the order, standard order conditions. Now, the very first set of conditions are to deal with erosion and sedimentation, which was a big issue in this project. And they talked about a work line, so our work line usually is 10 feet. But in fact, you're going to put the trees right close to the pond, right? So,
Could I just make just one question?
Yeah.
And this is dated October 21st, 2013. Can we just put on like an update? I don't know whether there was one.
Yeah, generally I put a revision date on it.
That's.
But I didn't stamp and sign it, so.
Okay. So how do we specify this one?
Yeah, as far as putting in a revision, is that what you're asking?
you mean, how do we title it?
Well,
This,
the only thing that might be in question, if he has another one dated October 21st, 2013, we want to make sure this is the plan that we're approving.
Oh, this has a different title, has a
What?
different title.
Oh,
than
okay.
the other plans.
That's
All right, that's fine.
conceptual plan.
So we just call it the
So
okay,
this
yeah.
is,
That's fine. I
on
didn't
the,
know that.
on the thing I'll put, well, you're right, because on the order of conditions, we actually have to specify what the name of
Okay.
the plan is and the date. So we'll put replication site
Mhm.
plan, 275
Is that okay?
Chestnut Street.
Yeah, it's fine.
10/21/2013. The work line, you're going to be working right on the pond, I think. So do we even put a feet, 5 feet away? Would that be right? This is where you
Yeah, you're
start
gonna be at
working.
least 5, aren't you? Off the pond for the trees?
Oh, for the trees, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wherever
that's
they
fine.
were cut.
Yeah, because I mean, closer to 5 feet, you're going to be in the water. They'll just go back into the water. Okay, so A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, and A6, because presumably you're going to put siltation barrier, something around the car park area while you're working on that. Would that be right?
Yes.
Some kind of,
I put a silt sock.
yeah.
All around here, because you can't get a silt fence in with the ledge.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Would you be in agreement with that, Commissioners? A1
Mhm.
to A6?
Yes.
Drainage and runoff, because that's the issue of the car parks, I think. The drainage pattern will be altered here, but, and we didn't ask for a 2, 10, and 100-year storm. I think we're going to move on from that, to be honest, because this is really to stop the erosion, so we want the work to move very quickly. B3 maybe for drainage. There's no retention, but there's no retention pond,
No.
right? So maybe not B3. Okay, B6. A paved berm shall be installed around the perimeter of the parking lot to contain and direct the flow of water to catch basins. So we're not talking about the catch basins, but we are
You
talking
can change
about
that to concrete stops,
concrete stops.
We could just take out paved and just say a berm.
easier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll actually take it, like Mr. Feeney says, we'll just take out
Paved, just put a
put
berm.
But in our handwritten orders, we talk about concrete stops. So B6, flood control.
So how do you want that written down? You
So-
want concrete blocks?
So no, we're just going to write a berm shall be installed around the perimeter of the parking lot to contain and direct flow of water to catch basin. Just put out page, cross that page.
But is there a catch basin?
No, there
No.
isn't, but we're still going to do catch basin. right, because-
Okay.
Because you're going to, but the water is going to go around. Effectively, the catch basin is going to be the road and the pond.
correct.
That's effectively what it's going to be. So flood control, C. Actually, I'm not too sure C actually applies. D is surface water, and that does apply. And I think D3 in surface water is the first part that applies, which simply says that any detention basin where you're flowing the water off shouldn't discharge the water having an undesirable water quality into the stream. Here we're talking about the river. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. D4, which says no rock salt. So it's in an area anyway that you would not use rock salt. Is there anything else, Mr. Newman? D3 and D4. Wetland replication plans. So in effect, that's what you are doing, is replication. So we're going to do E1, which is the notice of intent. But we don't have a botanist that did a map plan for this, right?
I have a wetland specialist to flag the wetlands, and he wrote a report.
Excellent. And that's right, and the plan was before us. Okay, so E2, which just says that there's a botanist. E3, replacement. E4, which is the performance standards.
E5.
E5, it's groundwater elevations. E6, designed by wetlands consultant. So that's what we'd had. Okay, do we know the area that you're actually putting in trees? Do we have original notice?
It's based on what was cut down, and I didn't locate the cut trees, so I don't have an area, no.
Did we put that in our notice of intent? I don't know if we did. I'm just looking at E7, that's why I'm saying. Obviously, all of these have to follow DP guidelines anyway. E9, which simply says that replicated area should be placed as near as possible to the source area which is being fulfilled. And E10, restoration of disturbed wetland shall be stabilised and seeded within 30 days of final grading. Was there grass, Mr. Noonan, in that? Was there grass in the
It
area?
would be here. He'd have to replicate the grass here.
Right, okay. F, now wildlife habitat would be an issue because there's fish here. And so they say, here it says, to prevent disruption of fish breeding and migration, no activity should be done between the period of March 15 to June 15. So we have a little problem here. Because already there's erosion. Did you guys see erosion
Yes.
when you were walking?
Mm-hmm.
Well, how are you going to put the trees in? What machinery are you going to use to put the trees in?
Pretty much by hand.
By hand.
I don't want to get any machinery in there.
Right, okay. So F2, which is replicated wetland area, must function as the same kind of wildlife habitat that was there beforehand. You haven't altered, I mean, the bank has been altered and you're replicating it, so I think F4 doesn't apply.
It does or
It
doesn't?
does not.
Doesn't.
So we're only at F2. And then you're going to put in trees. Did we actually specify what kind of trees you're going to put
Yes,
in?
it's in the chart.
Hasn't it? Excellent. White pine, sweet pepper bush, and red maple. And that's what was there. That's what you're replicating.
Predominantly, yes.
Excellent. Okay. So move on to on-site conditions, which literally just says, how you're to handle this. So G1 through G7 should be. Any debris, construction material, building material, where are you going to put that on site? Do you think there's going to be any?
If there are stumps, like I said in the construction, that
We should remove trees that have exposed roots, because we were talking to the commission out on the site, and it was felt that some of the trees are falling into especially in this area, and
Yeah.
it should be taken out. So I specified that the stump should be taken off site. Other than that, I don't think there's much debris.
So maybe what we'll...
He's got some
Probably
stumps that are
other than a
about
rubber, 20.
6 inches.
20 bags of rubbish.
Oh, the leaves, yeah.
Okay.
Is that what it is, leaves and twigs and...
No, it's the trash that they picked up.
Oh, Okay, yeah, we'll have
That
to
was
make a
over
note
here.
of that, right.
That was, because
Behind the
I think
pipe.
someone mentioned it, the fact that when they went in and cleaned it, the trash from the people fishing
Right.
was atrocious. So-
Right.
And they cleaned it all up, and it's right in that pipe.
Yeah, we don't want to chip that up.
No, don't chip it up, please.
Okay. Well, the reason I asked that is because G5 talks about if you have debris, you're supposed to put a certain amount of feet away from the wetlands, but you're going to just carry it off site.
Yes.
Is that right? So all of G is applicable. Would you agree, except for G5? Would you agree, gentlemen?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay. H was administrative conditions. H2, this applies to every successor in control. H4, this will include all contracts, such as tree contracts, subcontracts. And that's it. And that's it. And then the work schedule and sequence of events, and that simply lays out the, the steps that you take. And we just, do you agree, gentlemen, we just apply them, where applicable, okay? Where applicable. It lays out that a timetable of construction should be given to the Conservation Commission, but, it's quite applicable. Okay. Special conditions. So I'd like to say that in special conditions that a berm around the parking lot was discussed and should be applied, and it can be, how would you phrase that, Mr. Noonan?
Concrete stops.
Concrete stops, STOPS.
Mhm.
Concrete stops, okay. You're going to put a silt sock along the working area. You're going to carry off all debris from the area afterwards.
No, they can do either. If you wanted to try to put asphalt berm down there, or Cape Cod berm, that'd be fine, but I don't think anything's gonna hold it. I'm just making a suggestion that you can do either or, just so
Okay.
that you know that.
Okay.
Yeah, these are only
So they have to
suggestions.
put a good base under the concrete because, they gotta put a good gravel and
Yeah, that-
whack it
But they can
down.
put it on gravel.
Oh, yeah.
That's up to
They
them.
have to do that.
They can do whatever they want as long as it's,
Right,
a good stop
yeah,
between
just so it's
the
clear.
pond and us.
And I'm going to diary this, if I may, 6 months, just to touch base with you. Is that okay?
Sure.
I mean, any changes you want are, certainly okay with us, but it's just to keep, because it's, because of what happened before and because it's Cushing Pond, it is a resource area that we're worried about. Is that all right?
I'd make this suggestion also too, if anybody on the board, when they begin to do the work, if we could get notified so that somebody can go out and look at it. Halfway through it, we can go out and look at it again, and at the end, when it's all completed,
Okay.
just give us.
I listed that in the notes on the plan as well. It's in those notes.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, and that would be useful because I think your timeline for the other project is pretty close too. I remember Mr. Vu did talk about how that's happening pretty soon. So we can keep an ongoing tab with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, is there any other comments? Are you all set? Can we keep one of these
Yes.
plans as well? Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Is this Cushing Pond before we finish?
Yes.
Yes.
I
yes.
had a comment about the delineation that I saw out there. When it rained, we had that heavy rain, the water level in the pond went up. And most of the stakes that were there were underwater, the wetland stakes.
The ones on which side? The street side? Or the other, when we were walking around it?
Where we were walking around it.
Right, so
It's over here. These ones were underwater. And I think we need to delineate the wetland at the high water mark.
yeah, because if you can see right here, he's got proposed putting some trees in.
Yeah.
So I think in actually one of the conditions we had, it said that they wanted to keep any trees, vegetations, anything else up beyond the high water mark. That's where they would start.
Right. Okay, good.
So,
But I just wanted to point out that I wasn't in agreement with which is I think a comment I made last time, was I felt like, the definition of where the wetland actually ended wasn't quite right. The other thing is I figured out that the dam is town-owned, and the Board of Selectmen have control of the dam that's there.
Okay, so
Where's
they
the
have,
town?
And it's
Over here.
it's actually right here,
right in here.
right here.
So that's where the river enters,
Yep.
and the town owns that. And I think to Mike's point, around the dam, it actually suggests that there's no trees.
That there should
Okay.
be no trees.
Yeah.
Actually, he doesn't put trees
He
down.
didn't put any trees there, so it's a good thing.
Let's get
But it's a
lumen
comment
seed.
that we probably
Yeah.
should recommend to the town that they keep it clear.
Right.
Okay.
Um,
So the town can regulate the level of water in the pond?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Because that's the other suggestion to yours would say that if we take a high water mark, we should take the high water mark from the top of the dam.
Yes.
Should we take it from the top of the dam?
It went,
Because
as
that
far,
would-
it went to the top of the dam,
Yeah.
and that was not even a 100-year storm that we had. So it was a very rapid storm, but it wasn't a 100-year storm.
So we'll say top of bank will be the top of the concrete on the dam.
Yeah.
And then that way you can shoot around whatever they want to and figure out that's where the high water mark is gonna be on the land.
Yeah.
So nothing below that would be chip, tree, or anything else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was, and the only other comment I had was, it's just in general, I was, Cushing Pond in our open space plan says it's 10 acres, which would make it a lake, a great pond. However, I'm not sure if that's correct or not. I don't know. You might want to verify that because there's different public access depending on the size of the
Right.
pond, which I think would be important to the applicant. Because great ponds, lakes, actually, access to the public is required, and 10 acres is the I did some research. The Army Corps of Engineers maintains the records of the dams.
Right.
This one is considered, it hasn't been inspected for a while, and it's old, it's like from 1905. However, you know, the event that may occur with this dam is looked at as a lower priority event, because I think it's, you know, the pond continues most of it on a regular basis.
Is this marked on the Army Corps of Engineers map?
Yes, it is.
So, Mr. Elliott, if there is, for that next plan, you're going to have to go before the Army Corps of Engineers to construction, but you knew that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was just interesting. And I've asked them for some specifications. They gave me a name of a person, I just haven't heard back from the Corps yet. If I, when I asked to be on the dam list to look up the dams, there's a few other dams in town.
Excellent.
So I did ask for any drawings or specs that might exist, figuring that we probably don't have them.
Right. Well,
And they may not either, but they may have inspection reports or something that would be useful to the applicant and to us.
Excellent. It's going to be very interesting because, you know, we were given some midnight reading because there's a second plan, a conceptual plan of land, which is very exciting. Which is underneath the map.
I didn't see it, so.
Yeah,
No,
it's-
well, it's not an issue today,
Yeah.
but he
Okay.
brought it over, and, you know, we really
can take it
appreciate
home and-
that.
Yeah, well, we
Look
can
at
think
it.
about it, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I didn't mean to, I know you guys have already had the hearing, but I just had a couple of
No, it's okay. We're just
tidbits.
at the end of it. We're just at the end of it. So we've done a series of orders. Do we have a vote to actually? Firstly, do we vote to close the meeting?
Vote to close the meeting?
Yeah, close the hearing
Close the hearing.
of 275 Chestnut.
Second.
Okay. All those in favour?
Right.
Hi.
And then we talked about the orders. Are we in consensus with the orders we gave?
Yeah.
Do I have a motion to approve the orders?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second.
All those in favour?
Aye.
And I'm going to abstain.
And, right, Kathy's going to abstain. Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Elliott. That's very exciting. Thank you very much.
See with a new plan coming up, Michael.
And thank you, Mr. Boone.
Do I have
I
it
didn't
here?
know. No, this is,
No.
We just
the future.
We just took the page back over this.
Okay.
That's why we did this.
he hasn't gone before,
Look at
he
the island,
Yeah.
there's the island.
hasn't gone before planning or anything else, so it's gotta go all before them first.
Did we take out the driveway?
It went to the other side of the house. And we asked them to put a berm around the outside all the way around, keep everything
So they did know,
inside.
they did it through, just very close to the house so they can come back around
Yeah.
with the berm.
Okay, that's good, that's good, I just wanted to.
Keeps everything
check that.
away from that
That's excellent,
area.
thank you.
So I'm just going to pass around the orders.
We'll give this to Joe.
Keep this. You guys get to keep that one?
We can keep it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should let Joe have, because then I can just go see you and borrow it.
I got one right there.
Excellent. That's exciting. I mean, I think September summer 2015 is when we're talking about doing the other project. So it's pretty exciting. All right, the next item, if I may, I'm going to jump from Scott Christensen just to the notice of intent for Ingrid Johnson, 49 Susan Road, Brockton, for construction of a single-family home with site appurtenances within a bordering vegetated wetlands of 78 Crabtree Lane. Now, we do have the applicant, and we have Mr. Wheatley and his office here. There's one problem, and we don't have a DEP number, so we're not going to be able to approve it tonight, but we can open the hearing. Do you want to do that? Yeah? Cool. Okay. For the road that goes around.
Thank you, sir.
Because they did a limited project there.
Pardon me?
Did they do a limited project?
Way back. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is John Cotter. I work at the Russell Wheatley Company. I'm here with Russ Wheatley. The applicant is Ingrid Johnson, and the builder is Michael Hansen. Mr. Norton, who's the owner of the property, was unable to attend tonight's meeting. What we have here is we're proposing to construct a single-family dwelling on Lot 8. Lot 8 has 132,357 square feet of property located on the south side of Crabtree Lane. Wetlands shown on the plan were delineated by Brooke Monroe. She's of Pine Brook Consulting. The flags themselves start down here at a retaining wall, and they continue up the property from wetlands flag 1 through 14. There is an existing drainage ditch that runs on the property. It runs from the northwest corner of the property. There are culverts that cross underneath Crabtree Lane and enter into this drainage ditch, and the ditch flows across the property from the northwest corner to the southeast side of the property. Elevation of the lot itself runs from Crabtree Lane is at the high mark, and it runs back in a fairly shallow slope, if you will, to the back of the property into the wetlands area. Presently, right now, the lot is a vacant wooded lot. The proposed house we show is to be located in the front of the lot, front left corner of the lot, shown here. Prior to, there had been a prior plan done when this subdivision was being developed, and they did plans and showed footprints of where all the houses were to be established and where they were going to be put. We simply used the same footprint from back in 2004, I believe it is, and put the house in the same, pretty much the same location. We used the same size footprint that was approved previously. The house itself, the footprint is 62 feet by 34 with a 14 by 14 deck shown in the back. What we did is face the house towards the cul-de-sac. We did show a small filled area. Here it's all shaded in blue. It's 1,100 square feet, basically to stabilize the backyard or some type of a yard for the construction, because the house itself was going to end up fairly close to the wetlands line, something that we had run into before, and thought this was a good way of mitigating for to establish some kind of a yard. With the 1,100 square feet of fill that we're proposing, we are proposing to put a replication area here in the back, is shaded in brown. It's 2,265 square feet. So you would get a 2-to-1 ratio for your replication area to your filled area, which is something that the board has expressed that that's what they would like to see. If we're going to be filling, they would like to see a ratio better than 1-to-1. So we get a 2-to-1 ratio. How we're going to create the replication area is we're going to depress this area to match the grade of the wetlands out in here at about elevation 173. So we would be bringing this down 173 and then up to a bank of 174. The house itself would be, the grade around the house itself with the driveway would be raised. We'd be creating a drainage swale along the easterly property line so that any runoff that comes from the house towards the property here that's owned by Pantazelos, I believe is his name. It'll get directed into the swale and redirected back to the back of the lot, so no runoff will enter onto their property. Utilities themselves are going to be municipal utilities. There is a sewer easement that runs from McHugh Circle, and there again on the previous submitted plans, the proposal was to utilize a manhole, a sewer manhole that was out here on the lot to connect to the existing sewer. Water would come in from Crabtree Lane. The underground utilities would come in off the street also for electric and power and cable TV and so forth. The lot does lie also in the floodplain and wetlands protection overlay district, which is a zoning issue, so we will have to go to the zoning board of appeals for a special permit. They again will be looking to make sure that we do not adversely impact any of the abutters with overland flow, with runoff. There again, another reason why we did show this drainage swale. Drainage swale will be about a foot deep running along the property line so that we can ensure that we'll definitely get it to run to the back of the property, probably into this newly developed wetland area and eventually out into the back of Lot 8. There's also a detention basin that's over in this area here on the Sissons property. It will be just short of that, so we're not impacting on an existing structure. It is actually, I don't show it, but it's actually right in here on the Sissons property.
Okay, so is there a distance between this and the replication area, or is
approximately 15 feet, if I was, as a guess. So, in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we're doing. It's for a single-family house lot. I believe this is the last lot along Crabtree Lane that's to be developed. It was done previously. The house is in the same location it was previously approved back when the subdivision was being built on. I think that about covers it. You do have, if there are any questions, I'd be perfectly happy to answer any concerns.
As usual, Mr. Connor, you did really well.
Well, thanks.
You did really, really well. But
A little long-winded this time. But
oh no, that was excellent, John. Thank you very much. But any comments?
I had a couple of questions for you. The FEMA flood zone doesn't apply here, it applies here?
It does not apply here.
Okay, good. And the drainage from the detention basin, which way does it head?
It also heads in the same,
It goes in the back?
into the wetlands.
So it doesn't go onto this, it's not directed towards this property, it's gone that way?
It's actually, it will be directed somewhat towards the property indirectly.
Okay.
I mean, the outfall does come towards us. The outfall does come towards Lot 8. But I think it eventually gets into the back of the wetlands.
And this drainage ditch is a perennial stream?
It's intermittent, it's not perennial.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I meant, intermittent.
I thought you were trying to trick me.
No, I wasn't trying to trick you, that's my fault. I'm just tired. It's
I
late.
know, I don't know. No, I had, we looked at it, the botanist looked at it, and we all agreed that it was an intermittent stream.
And, I noticed there wasn't a replication plan attached.
No, I will have that.
Could you please provide one?
Absolutely, I'll provide one.
Because we should have that.
As I
before
said,
we
we don't have a file number, so we'll definitely be asking for continuation to the next hearing, and at that time, I'll supply one for you.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments?
The back of the proposed wetlands fill-in area, how close is that to that intermittent stream? It looks pretty close there.
It's going to be surrounded by a siltation fence.
Okay.
And it is going to be fairly close. I mean, we can cut that back. I mean, there's plenty of slope there if you felt that you wanted a specific distance. I mean, I'm sure we can make that work.
I know
Right
we
now,
have, for wetlands, we have 10 feet.
Right now, and that's what it's at. Right now, it's at 10 feet.
From the drainage ditch, it looks like it's,
From down here where the fill is.
oh.
That distance
okay,
is
I was
about
thinking
10
you were
feet.
talking about replication.
No, that's
From the,
no,
from the siltation fence
yeah,
itself.
'cause I did drive by and I did see that there was, looked like a stream that was
Yeah,
running
you
through
don't
there.
show
So.
the siltation fence on here, do you?
Yeah, it actually is.
Oh, it's right there?
It's right here, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't mention that, sorry.
Yeah. Thanks.
So the reason we're filling in the wetland there is because you really need the space for the backyard, right?
Correct.
And you're putting it over to, is it the north or the south of the, is it the north of the property?
Here?
That brown thing, well, that brown thing.
That's the replication area? That's going to be on the southeast.
Southeast. So does the
Thank you.
detention basin that's beside it, I mean, is that going to, will the wetland, the new wetland that you're going to put, will that be able to handle water from the detention, from the flow of the detention basin?
Well, the detention basin is, it's designed, the way it was designed was to run, is designed to run along the contours. All I'm simply doing is I'm just kind of digging out a foot, you know.
Right.
So some of the water will get in there, but it's still going to go the way it's supposed to go. It's still going to go to the back of the lot.
Okay, all right.
I'm not creating a hole. I'm just creating an area so that when it does get wet, it'll
What?
simply find its way back in here so that when it's planted, the wetland vegetation will thrive.
What is there now at the moment?
Right now, it's just trees and leaves.
Yeah.
Uplands, uplands.
So, okay, so uplands. So that's what that probably answers the question, because that's what I was asking. Will the wetlands be able to take the new wetlands you
Yes,
talk about?
yeah,
Will they be
yes,
able to
I think
absorb
so.
the water? But, you know, but if they're wetlands. Does that,
It's
anybody
pretty
have-
wet back there, so I don't think there'd be a problem or an issue with that.
Okay. Does anybody have any other questions or comments? So if I may, I'm going to put it to the floor, and we do actually have some butters here. So yeah, can you say your name just for
My name is Mike Masterson.
what do you want?
I'm at Fort McHugh. I'm the second one
Right
there. Yeah, right there. There is a retention basin on my property that does get about 3/4 full in the spring and down to about maybe 6 inches in the summer. I mean, only once, I think it was towards the end of last summer, was it dry. But that stream they're talking about in the springtime when the snow melts and we get some heavy rain, that's 20 feet across.
This
That's
here.
And that's running. I mean, that's rolling water running through there. My concern is that, if I may, You mentioned the height level here, where the fill's gonna go and so forth. We're at, what, 177, 176, 176. I'm down here, 171, 172.
Mhm.
Okay, that's 6 feet below grade. My concern here is that if this is disrupted, am I gonna end up with water in my yard or even in my basement? I have a walkout basement that's at ground level.
I would say no, because we are depressing, we're actually depressing, this area here is getting down to 173.
Right.
And so we're actually creating more.
But if you make this a depression, isn't that gonna collect water?
It will collect, yes, it will, but eventually it's going to run, it's going to seek its path. And it shouldn't seek its path this way because it would be running against, the grain of the contours. The water will generally go, as you see the contours running, water's going to go perpendicular to the
But
elevation.
I understand that. This stream runs kind of in a southeasterly direction this way.
Right.
Behind me, in fact, Rick's property, Rick and Kathy Pruitt, it runs right across their backyard.
Right.
Into here. So that's, Ingrid, I have no problem with you building here, okay? None at all.
Well,
So
no, I don't really see
No, I
a huge
understand.
issue
That's
with
why
it.
I'm
because
just-
you're on
I want to
floor.
protect my interests.
Sure, sure.
Okay?
I mean, if you want, we can, possibly do something, if you want, I'll go out and take a look at it over here and see if there's something that we can do.
Yeah, because I've walked out here before, so I know exactly what you're referring to.
Right.
And I'm not a conservation specialist.
Right, neither
here.
am
Right, so I'm just, me processing the information from collecting data from these gentlemen, I honestly don't believe that what you're saying is actually gonna happen when he does it. I mean, I've walked the property, not that I want to,
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? But I've walked out there, I don't believe that it would do that. I kind of side with him because, I mean, I've looked at this property for over 6 months now.
Mm-hmm.
I've been out there on several occasions. I had concerns like you had concerns because I see the house that was built on the other side of the, what do you call these things?
Cul-de-sac.
Thank you, I call it Rory. But there's one built on the other side, which is
Yeah.
further down, which
Right.
I'm like, well, that guy's a little crazy because why would you build a house down there? Right, now I'm coming further up, I'm higher elevated, and when I process this and I look at it, because if I'm gonna put my family there, I
Right,
need to
right,
make
right.
sure
No,
that
right.
I'm not gonna float down the Nile either.
Right, no, exactly.
So I looked at it, and I don't honestly, truly, or I wouldn't be moving forward with this because I'm already out of pocket thousands on this project
I
already.
understand.
Yeah, so I see your concern, but I'm not sold on it yet. But like, if you wanna go out there on a wet day, I'd accompany you out there,
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at it,
yeah,
to be honest with you, because I need to make sure I'm making a proper investment.
Right, no, I understand. Now, you talked about that swale ditch.
I'm just,
Yeah.
It's only gonna be a foot deep.
Yeah,
the
Will that have to be
elevation of
maintained?
yeah.
the
It'll be
wetlands
maintained
is
by
the same height as the
It'll
elevation of his.
be grass, I mean,
If it's
Right,
detention
right,
pit,
right.
then he really has no.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Can I make a suggestion?
Because,
Yeah, actually, can I interrupt you?
Dave shares the same
Uh-huh.
view, is that the water, I mean, I've never had water in my basement, I talked to the previous owner, he never did either.
Mhm.
And I don't know what this house is gonna weigh, what it's gonna do to the, hydrogeological
Mr.
study.
Masterson? Mr. Masterson, can I hold
Yes.
you just for a second? Mr. Masterson, did you want to say something?
Yeah, can I make a suggestion? You put in a couple of plastic dry wells to collect and then disperse as it goes down. Would that help the problem?
Down in here?
Yeah.
And in this
Where-
area?
Where Mr. Masterson has his concerns.
Well, that's what I was saying, we can take a look at the area, we can go down, take
Okay.
a look at the area
Yeah.
and see what would
But
best
is it this
serve.
larger perhaps, or?
Well, I can't go this way because that's wetlands, I'm held by this flag line.
Yeah. Oh, okay, all
So,
right, yeah.
all I can do is take uplands, which is what I'm doing, I'm taking this area uplands, and I'm excavating it down to make it a
Where are we
wetland.
going, this side?
No, I can't do anything over here.
What he's probably is talking about is they make these plastic dry wells, which in wet weather, they collect the
Right.
water and then disperse out the
Right,
top.
right.
Which will slow the flow down to your house.
Like an MDC trap almost?
Yes, exactly. And it's underground, nobody's gonna see it, but it
Right.
just collects around stone.
Yeah.
And that would be helpful no matter what. That would just collect and disperse
I mean, that-
and not create a
only
mosquito
concern.
problem.
Sure, no, we'll
No,
take a look at it, we'll definitely take a look at something like that.
The only other thing I'd probably say too is that the bottom elevation of the wetlands replication area should probably be at the same height as his detention basin on the other side.
Okay,
That way, you're never gonna get that,
fine.
Backflow.
Then I'll investigate that. I understand.
you know what I mean?
Yep.
Is that basin gonna have a bank on it?
This here?
Yes. It's gonna be-
It's not really, it's not a basin, it's what they call a replication area. I mean, yeah, it will have a bank on it, but what they do essentially is they're gonna go in, and any big trees, you really try and leave the big trees inside these areas, and basically go in and excavate out about a foot, you know, so it is an excavation, so they'll take it down about a foot or so. In that area, but any large trees, they'll leave the large trees.
But they'll replant
And they'll.
Right.
to
yeah.
put
Yeah.
wetlands
Yeah.
vegetation there.
Which is fine, I'm just concerned about the direction of the water.
Right, but hopefully the vegetation
Right.
they plant will help with the water flow.
You're right.
They're not gonna excavate so that it goes backwards.
No, I
You know,
understand.
they're gonna make sure that it still
We're
flows
making
the
every
same
motion to
way.
make it go this way.
Right.
I
Right.
follow that.
Right.
And we did have another butter, right? Do you want to?
I share the same concerns.
Same. Okay.
Which house lot are you?
I'm on the corner
This
there.
one here.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And you
I
guys,
also am not objecting to the project by any stretch.
Right.
and on your,
It's just a water concern.
on your
I
side
feel
too,
like I'm lower.
yeah, no, on your side too, he's proposing to put a swale in
Right.
along their property, which will, any water that comes off of their roof or anything else will hit the swale and run straight back anyway. It'll never come over the top of yours.
And what's your name?
Gabe, Pantazellos.
Gabe Pansell.
Yes.
Right.
I hope I didn't butcher your name too bad when I said it.
Okay, is there any other comments from the floor? Okay.
I just have a
Yeah.
curious question. To build a new house right now, is that required to have water retainer? Water retainer.
I'm not sure I know what you mean, but
Yeah.
basically what they do, basically what we're doing here is we're putting the foundation where we think the water's gonna be. We're adding a foot or 2 feet to where we think the water's gonna be, so that the foundation will be out of the water
Yeah.
table.
We can't well, and I'm just curious.
Right, right.
So
That's okay.
one more question. The only fill that you're putting in here would be where that light blue area is, correct?
No, because we're filling around the house.
So you could bring the elevation
We're
up.
gonna bring the elevation around the house up,
Okay.
yes.
How much material do you think you're bringing in? Are you bringing,
Well,
are you going up a foot or going up
Ballpark.
a couple of feet?
we're going up, let's see, we got 176 to, we're going up about 2 feet. 2 feet, and there's about 100 by 100, 10,000, 2 feet. 2 feet, 20,000 square feet,
Divided by 27,
divided by 27,
divided by 30, easier.
yeah,
170 some odd yards.
yeah, something like that.
How much you gonna get out of the foundation?
And then the foundation would be, what's that, it's 60 by 30, 1,800. 1,800. About 60, so it'd be
you
about
get
110. yeah.
110 bring in? That's fine.
Okay.
10 dump trucks, 10 big trucks. Something like that.
So it's lot. Do you need a permit for that? For bringing that fill in from Selectmen?
He can do 100,
Do 100.
yeah. Plus, it's plus or minus whatever he gets out of the foundation.
Right, because he's excavating, so.
Right.
Right.
Ms Johnson, I'm afraid we can't approve and do the orders like we did for the other thing tonight because we don't have a DEP number.
Yeah, he
Yes,
already explained that to me prior to us coming in, so.
But it comes very, very quickly. I didn't get it on my email. I didn't get it on email today. So sometimes we get it on the day of our meeting. So if it's okay, if it's agreeable with you, we'd like to continue it. Is that okay? Continue the
What
hearing?
would the continue date be?
Probably the next available,
May 8th.
May 8th.
Okay,
Is that okay?
no, that's fine.
May 8th?
May
Would-
8th.
Well,
You said the
13th.
13th.
13th,
Well, yeah.
I don't think they're coming on the weekend.
Hi, Ms. Howard.
Yeah, it's the 13th, sorry.
That's okay.
Zoning meeting.
Good one. Good catch. Good catch, Mr. Collins. Okay, so that's agreeable with you to just continue
Yes,
until May 13th?
yes.
Excellent,
May
okay.
13th.
So if we may, we're going to, it's agreeable to the applicant, so do I have a motion to continue the hearing?
Motion to continue.
A second?
Second.
All those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Connor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
By the way,
We still need a replication plan. And then I think that we should. CDC may have comments, and we want to make sure we have that up. We don't want to close the hearing and not have the comments. And I don't want to make
No,
them
you get that.
publicized.
you get that.
It doesn't always happen.
Next time I'm gonna have to put money in the
No,
till,
they'll
so
be
I can
back.
make right now.
I jumped over
Joe doesn't want them.
510 Linwood Street, Scott Christensen.
Put them in my
So
file.
is there somebody? Yeah. Mr. Christensen.
It's my-
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah, I contacted your office a couple weeks ago about the installation of the above-ground swimming pool and installation of a new lawn. The swimming pool fell outside down 100-foot buffer.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you leave the room right now and quietly? Okay? Right now and quietly. Okay? All right. Sorry, Mr. Christensen.
The swimming pool actually fell outside the 100-foot buffer zone, but the installation of the new lawn, I would like to extend it to within 25, to stop at 25 feet from the wetlands. It is currently, it's a new house that was just built in October, and it's a hayfield right now. So there's no mature trees or anything like that that are going to be chopped down.
This is right next to,
Right next
so the
to,
road is going to the house behind.
correct. And,
And I'm sorry, I just,
oh, I'm sure you guys are familiar with the
well, you
area.
have the field, I mean, it's.
Right, and it's just basically, I just want to plant grass there, well, mow it and plant grass there is what I'm looking to do.
Nothing else. You're not gonna.
And are you doing it in the
It's already-
buffer zone or in the wetlands themselves?
No, it will be 25 feet from the wetland lines here.
Is there
We're
an
proposing
approved
to come-
notice of intent for this?
Sorry,
Is
Kat?
there an approved notice of intent for this site already?
This is built.
Yeah, it
There
is.
is,
So,
We
so
walked it that day.
that has the extent of work on there, right on the drawing? We probably, Nancy, is that the plan for it? Yep. Just so we can, this little plan's making me crazy. My eyesight's not as good as it used to be. So you want to go, the limit of the wetlands is here.
Yep, and
And
I will
the
be
existing-
squaring, I want, my backyard, I have everything about a square backyard anyway, so it wouldn't follow this line, but the closest I'd be to a wetland with the planted grass is 25 feet.
Well, what changes here? This.
It's, my yard right now only goes to about here, and this is a field, and I know there's,
Remember we want this property over there
We will-
for the house is going out back?
Yeah, the one out back, this
This
was
is
the
really
one.
all cleared, right?
it's all cleared, I just want to mow it,
He just
I
wants
came in as an
blow and
informal
see.
meeting just to,
So he wants to go to where you want to go to where the siltation fence is now, or do you want to go beyond?
no, I want to go, there is no siltation fence now. It's been removed. So my intention was to put another silt fence 25 feet from the wetlands and plant grass. Like I said, there's no removal of any trees or anything like that. I'm just trying to cover my bases because I know there's a lot of
difference is-
activity out
The
there.
difference is over here,
Right.
that's all. 25 feet is, are you going straight across, or are you going to go back here?
I mean, it's going to be fairly square to the house. The house kind of sits so pretty much square across that. So, I mean, I'm just trying to cover all my bases because I know there's a lot of activity going on around me. And,
I think it's,
you know, I spoke with Dennis on the phone about it, and he said it'd be best if I came in and just got it on record.
This was-
but this is, he's just showing this.
He's had a certificate of compliance already issued on
He
this,
does,
Dennis?
yeah, in December, certificate of compliance was issued. So you're just for the area up to the siltation fence, you're just asking to put grass in, lawn in.
Correct, yes. Right now, it's rough grass. I'd call it a hayfield.
Yeah.
He's saying he wants to be 25 feet away from the siltation fence, which is different than where the 25 feet away from the wetland, which is
Wetlands.
different than where the siltation fence is.
That's,
Because,
so,
so
That siltation fence does
the
not
silt-
exist.
Yeah, the silt fence is gone.
Right, but.
So he just wants to square his backyard off
Correct.
about where the silt print was?
Well, I'm picturing where I come in the closest right here, I'd be 20, come out 25
Okay.
feet and then square off.
Okay, so he's gonna be 20.
And like I said, these shows trees, this is just an open field. I
Right.
know you guys walk that property, it's just an
Yeah.
open field as it is. I just want it to be, it grass more where I can have my kids out without worrying about them
That's fine.
getting cut
So-
and whatnot like that.
Yeah. So what you're asking really is just grass through the buffer zone.
Right, I mean, yeah, just mow it and, you know.
Would this come under Vista pruning? If there's no big trees, if it's just grass?
What is
I
it?
don't know what the
I would
reg
like
is
it,
for
I mean,
vista pruning, so-
I would like it to come under vista pruning because if it doesn't, we'd have to do an amended order. If it doesn't, you
Well,
know,
the other- the
but
only-
I think it does come under vista pruning. It's the same as if he was cutting down.
Dennis,
He-
what
he-
is,
he
I'm
can
sorry,
cut it now.
I don't mean to be funny here, but what's the reg that applies to vista?
There's a regulation that says that certainly you're allowed in the buffer zone to vista prune and to actually prune your bushes, you know, for the site, and you don't even have to come before a conservation commission for
Right, you
this.
discussed that.
Yeah, that's right. You can just, I mean, so if you see your neighbours out there and they're cutting down the bushes, you know, so they can see, that's actually allowed under the regulations, and they don't have to do it. It's just because we're a very tough conservation commission, people come to us all the time, right? But you don't actually.
That's
have
what,
to
I'm just
see-
trying to cover my base
so there's a
on
reg.
your end, so.
Yeah.
I know you guys are gonna be out and about around.
And we
there.
appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. I would think.
In
that-
reality, he can mow it now, he just wants to improve the grass.
Yeah.
That's all he's doing.
Yeah.
I
don't
wouldn't
have
have
a problem with that
I wouldn't
at
have
all.
any problem with it if it's just
Yeah.
grass.
Yeah, that's-
Any big caliber trees or something you want to start taking
No,
down.
no,
then-
it's cleared.
Then there's, yeah.
This is all
Yeah,
clear.
this
There's
You're not
nothing
taking down
there.
any trees at all?
There's no trees coming.
No,
I see
there's
the
no trees
difference
there.
between this and say Mr. Vu, who was putting grass back, you know, he'd taken the grass and the bushes out and shrubs out and it was right on the pond, was that he'd actually taken stuff out of, you know, the bank, and we were telling him to put back in, and that's why we said, well, you have to put grass that's, you know, commensurate with the wetlands and stuff like that. That is, you know, you have to put back what you took out. But this is just mowing the lawn.
Right.
Not a problem at all, I would think. Just as an ordinary member, I would think it's not a problem. So that's why they were talking about vista pruning. And that is a reg, Kathy, that allows.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with it, but I would suggest that you know, stay within the, you know, close to where the siltation fence line is on here.
Okay.
And I think I would be fine with that because I
Yeah.
think it's with what was already approved for
Yeah,
a
I think it's
grass
tree
match.
10,
I think he has it
CMR
approved anyway.
10.05.
Yeah.
And it's the B, I think it's in the list of things that are kind of like a variance, you know, that you don't have to go before a conservation commission. But I want to thank you. So is it a consensus that you can go ahead with that?
Go ahead with it. I don't even think we have to vote on it, just good luck.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Yeah, 'cause that's a joke. He's collecting them.
Another one?
Is that for this? This plan here?
Yeah,
Okay.
you got it.
All right. If I may, I'm going to jump the items to go to a meeting on the enforcement order for 2 Harbour Street and 1212 Bedford Street. So who do we have here? We've got everybody, right? We've got everybody. So do you remember we looked at 212 was 2 weekends ago, right? Or weekend ago.
Yes.
And we did an enforcement order just to hold everything in state until we until everybody worked out what was happening. And the only thing is we put a date on it, which is in May, which is probably not the best thing to do, an enforcement order, because it stops everything and freezes everything. The reason for that was actually, you know, to give you time to get your plans and all. But why don't you come over to us, okay? And we also have the Reeds.
Get my
right?
plan.
Do we have anybody else that's connected with this? With 1212 Bedford Street or 2 Harvard Street?
William.
What's your name, sir?
William.
William.
Bandit.
Okay.
My wife, Ann.
Excellent. So what we're going to do is we're going to chat about it, and then we'll open it up to the room. Is that okay? Cool. So we did. Let's take them at 2 different. Let's take the 2 different sites, one after another, if that's okay. The 1212 Bedford Street. I'd gone back there last summer. Was it last summer? I think it was last
Yes.
summer. And then, you know, since
We
that
rescinded
time,
the order, yeah.
right, and we did enforce an order. And then we were called in because there was lots of flooding in the Reed's property. And there was also a lot of fill that was put in on your site. So that was the basis of the enforcement order. So what are your thoughts?
What are my thoughts?
Yeah, on 1212 Bedford Street,
I don't
because
have
there is a
thoughts.
lot of flooding.
Well, it's water's lowest area. It's 4 feet below grade. Okay,
Right.
water runs downhill, doesn't run uphill.
Right, and the Reed's property is down here. I mean,
It's
your
always,
property
it's
was
always
probably
been
down
there,
here.
it's
and
always been the
upland
mosquito
behind.
pit in that area, okay? It's below grade, needs to be brought up to grade, okay?
And that's why you were doing it. You were putting up
Well,
grade.
right, I'm bringing it to the grade of Matt McPhail's property and the existing property that was there.
The
So
problem is that the water
Are you gonna decide-
pooled. Yep.
Right? So you want the Reeds to bring fill in to come up to your,
It should be.
that's what you want?
Well,
Right.
it should be also,
However-
should
No,
the
no,
wa-
just answer
should
the question, just answer the question for me,
Well, the
please.
original thing was,
You just said,
right,
you
it
put
should
the
be
fill,
brought,
put the Jersey
to get rid of
barriers.
the mosquito
Now they
pit
have a
that's there.
pond.
Right.
Now you want them to bring fill in so,
it
to
needs,
get rid of the
needs
pond.
to be graded out
That's
at a
what you want
higher
them to
grade.
do.
Well, no, it wasn't
No,
what I,
that-
excuse me, before you get too overbearing here, okay? The fact was that I talked to the Reeds prior to this, okay? And I said that I would help them get rid of the mosquito pit. I'm not running a pipe across the property, because it runs across my property and Matt McPhail's property. That's an easement. I'm not doing an easement, okay? The fact that that property has to be brought up to grade, get rid of the mosquito pit, so it slopes towards the street. As you all know too, the drainage on Highland Road, in the middle of that road, goes around and comes out onto his property. Okay? I suggest something be done about that. That's where the water's coming from now. Not from me. What I don't want is Reed's water coming across my property. Okay?
Okay,
I don't want Reed's,
Okay, and I'm going to stop you. Did we have any comments about what you saw at
Yeah,
1212?
actually, can we go back, when we lifted the enforcement order, what lot was that for? For lot 83? It was in like 1998?
I don't know, it's been so many times.
All right, did you purchase the lots 81A and 81B in 2012?
81,
He
Matt.
he purchased one of the lots.
It was
um,
two, it was a combined two lots.
Oh, eight.
And they- it's a strip that goes along there.
There's a
Which
strip.
is, there's never been a notice of intent on that piece of property to bring fill in on it.
That's
in
correct.
East-
it was
the
brought,
wetlands
it
area.
was brought in, it was brought in front of, what's his name, Alex Brasanson,
When was that?
twice.
If the property was bought in 2012, were we here as a
Do you
board?
have any record about?
2012,
Can I ask,
Was it binary?
could we go back to the beginning,
Sure.
guys? Sorry, I don't mean to be,
Yeah.
but I'd like to just make sure that we have, I noticed on here that it's Apple Tree Realty Trust. There is a trustee that's named, and Mr. DeAndrea, are you the representative for that Apple Tree Trust?
yes, I am.
And the property next door that the McPhails are the trustee for, are you their representative as well?
For McPhail's, no.
So there's two properties there?
Correct.
And both properties have fill on them?
Correct.
That I believe that, Mr. DeAndrea, did you bring the fill on to both properties?
Yes, I did.
Okay. I just want to make sure that
Yeah.
because I think that this actually applies to both properties, in my opinion, what we're discussing. Because there is, Mr. DeAndrea purchased it, I looked it up, and he purchased it in 2012, as you mentioned.
So
And,
do you think we should have the other property owner too?
Yes, I do, because I think it involves both of them.
What's that address?
1,200.
1,200, I think, yeah. So for me, that was one just basic comment. And I did want to mention that the water that goes there has been interconnected. We saw the connection that it goes from Highland Street onto the property, across the street to another wetland.
Excuse me.
That's,
It's not Highland Street, it's Highland Road.
Oh.
There is a Highland Street in this
Yeah,
town.
I know, you're
that's-
right.
Okay.
You're right. But anyway, for me, we have an interconnected water stream. It's water flow. It's a regulated.
You think that there is a stream that goes down?
Well, the wetland that we have is connected to the pond that's on the property at 1,200, and you can see the connection, and it goes across. You know, we know there's piping that goes across the street, that goes in the likelihood is it goes
Which-
to that wetland across the
Which
street.
drain? Because he has a separate one on the other side of his property.
He does, and it's up higher. It's actually up higher on his piece of property.
Well,
So what, exactly what you were talking about, I think the problem that we have is that, just like you said, all the water that comes off of Highland Road goes down in a lot between his property and another person's property, and it's all wet. But what happens is it doesn't get all the way to that pipe
well, somewhat.
that goes underneath. So any of that leftover water comes right into the back of his property,
Okay.
where you've now built the fill line up high that
Well, I
it-
put the
it
Jersey
doesn't-
barrier like Dennis said to
Right,
do,
which just
to
kind of,
keep my dirt from falling in on his
but
side.
what it's done is
and slope.
it's dammed up the water that's
Well,
there.
Right, it needs to be corrected, okay?
Right, but the only way that it can be possibly corrected is if the water can flow from where it is in that little corner
No.
there,
There's no flowing.
underneath the property until that little pond.
No, the state is involved now,
Are they?
okay? State's getting involved,
And
so.
who from the
we're
state
not
is
gonna do-
involved?
I don't know, DOT when they're doing the roadway.
Oh, that's 2 years from now.
Well, they're dealing with Matt McPhail right now, okay? And they're sending engineers out to look into it, so there'll be no more dumping any more water in that pond until
Until they
the
look
state's
at it.
done with it. That's
Well,
right.
for me, I think we.
You're talking about the pond that's right beside the
Right,
school. right?
that man-made pond that's where the water runs down, okay?
Yeah.
They're not, he can't do anything. He's under an order from the state right
And
now.
the pipe
to do
seems to go
nothing.
through in
Okay.
the middle of your land.
And
right?
guys, I want to
But
point
it ain't
out
my
that there's
property.
mapped, there was wetlands that the DEP shows on their DEP map.
Right.
On
Right.
both properties.
Yep.
So that there is a wetland included the pond, the man-made pond, whether it's man-made or not, at some point it became.
No,
you
it
know,
doesn't fall under it. It's not big enough. You
But
read that?
That man-made pond, excuse me, that was there before.
Right, and that was
Yeah.
used for irrigation for the, what's his name, for Johnson's,
For
to
Johnson,
irrigate
right.
their thing.
But
that
it's
was man-made.
connected, so it is a,
I
it's not an
understand that,
isolated
but,
land
I
subject to
understand,
flooding.
but that, what I'm saying is that pond was there before you or, what's his name?
Matt
Matt.
McPhail.
Bought that property.
Yes.
So that somehow, some way, that was either approved or just made.
Right,
I
and
don't
that was
know.
all cleared by this engineer's report, okay? It says that there is no 100-foot buffer zone, there is no issues with,
And
Did
do
that
we,
go
do
from
we have a copy of that?
1999?
well, that's on the, I bought the property in 2000 originally, okay?
Is that the one that showed me when we were there that day?
Yes, it is.
And I checked with there's no record of that plan on this board, for this board.
Well, I don't know why, then who took the plan, Nance? You know
I-
any idea
I
who
saw
took the
that,
plan?
it's not here.
Well, I don't know, you wanna look at this one?
No, I don't.
Want a copy?
Right now, we're not. It's not the same.
I mean,
I don't know what to tell you.
I think what we have to
They're not gonna
determine
reinvent the wheel here.
tonight is there a resource area, in other words, is there a wetland here? Where is it? And what is there any problems with the wetland, which, you know, I think because there's flooding, that it is an issue to do with it. It's not like the previous meetings where they were talking about, you know, building stuff on wetlands. Here it's actually a water distribution issue. But do you agree, Mr. Noonan?
I just find
Yeah.
that we can't determine where the wetlands were, if they were there.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, the water does flow downhill. It has been blocked, but that was okayed.
It's correct, by these
The
engineers.
stream behind you.
Hold on a second.
Wait,
The
wait.
water
No,
is not.
no,
located-
actually, I have to let the
That was in
commissioners,
2000.
Mr. Reed, I have to let the commissioners chat first. Go
So,
ahead.
as far as I know, that those barriers were put up with permission, okay?
Right, yep,
And
was told.
there is a stream going down the back of your house that now flows into that pit. And I don't know where, as far as this board can go, with where our jurisdiction goes as far as what we can do about the water problem. That's my question.
But I think the basic question is, do we think that there is a resource area there? Is it a wetlands jurisdiction or not, is I think the question. In my opinion, it is, because it's interconnected, it's water flow, and there was a wetland on the DEP map. There is no formal filing with this board, and I think there was a significant amount of fill that was placed there. Without, I think normally what happens is we get the normal filing before the site is prepared. In this case, it's backwards. And that's part of the issue.
See, the only problem, he said he was in front of the other board twice,
Correct.
right?
Well, 5 times, 4 times.
So,
front of Alex.
I mean,
You guys looked at the
we're-
files
Right,
last time,
but
right?
what,
Yeah.
which
Well, I
piece of-
can't help it, it's not the file, I'm not the caretaker, I'm not the keeper of the files here, okay? I'd have to ask Nancy here about, who
I'm
disappeared the
sure
files.
But it's
Okay.
not so much,
Nancy has them.
I mean, I actually am not
Oh,
too
yeah.
sure about the wetlands, but I certainly think that there's a water distribution issue, because
This
there's
is
a
the
water
engineer's
table.
report.
And that's where our,
It was
certainly under the
licensed.
bylaws, okay, certainly under the bylaws, if not the Wetland Act, if not Chapter 141, certainly under our bylaws, we actually do have jurisdiction over that. So there's the resource area, is that there's water coming up and it's being blocked. It seems to me as simple as that.
Well, it does go down, it does drain down.
It does, yeah.
Okay.
But the problem is it doesn't
But
drain down
every
as quickly.
year,
and it
every
seems
house,
to-
it has a lower level, has water in it, from a rainstorm, and it drains.
So your solution is that the neighbours, the abutters, literally fill in just as you did and bring their property up.
He's on a,
That's yours, too.
he's on a hill here. He's not flooding his house. It's below grade, it's way, way down. It's probably 8-foot difference, 9-foot difference between the bottom of that hole and the bottom of from his foundation.
So wouldn't the water have to go somewhere? Because what
Wait a
I'm
minute, but it's not-
thinking
but-
is
but
that the fill.
It shouldn't go across my property.
Actually,
Well, it will.
Actually,
Well,
Well,
it-
if
it-
he
water-
actually fills
water
in, it
comes,
will.
you are responsible for water, the water drainage.
Yeah.
It's a drainage basin and
Yeah.
water, it's that whole no net increase of flow. But, it also, you have to handle the water that was flowing over land on your property is your responsibility, and water that was flowing on. And you're supposed to not discharge more downstream or to another property, in this case upstream.
Right.
I think the no net flow change is the issue on the stormwater part. Because for me, it's the water flow has been impeded.
Right.
And we do have
and
regs about
hypothetically, if your
stormwater.
neighbor decided to put a retaining wall down his whole half of the property that's abutting the wetlands and channel all of that water onto your property, I think you'd be a little pissed too. You know?
Yeah, it's kind of, we
So-
just have the opposite.
I would raise my
Right.
property a little higher. Okay?
Keep raising.
I don't care, I would raise it higher. What can you want from me?
The
That
only-
water should be directed either into Matt McPhail's, the system that's semi-working now, okay? Or raise it up so that it runs towards the street. Now, this town doesn't have any drainage on Highland Road, okay?
Well, it-
Instead of
it
them
does.
spending
It
their-
has a
huh?
catch basin, but the catch basin dumps
Catch
onto
basin
the land.
dumps into
It
their
dumps already.
property.
The
It dumps
drainage on
already.
And it comes
Highland
around.
Road is funneled through the
That
backs
piece
of
of
the
property.
properties to the pond, across the
Street.
street, over 18 to the other wetland. There is a drainage system, it is not necessarily a traditional street drain system.
Right,
But
right.
it is a drainage system and it has existed for a
If
long
that
time.
drainage gets funneled into Matt McPhail's, there'll be no water running around the side of his, other than what's on his own property.
And,
His
I
own
did- I did
rainwater
have a
property on the
question.
hill.
It did appear that the pond, from the pictures I saw, has gotten smaller as well.
Yes.
He wants to
Okay.
fill it in.
I-
Matt McPhail wants to fill it in.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Well,
It's gotten a lot smaller, which probably, that was the other comment I was gonna make.
you put a lot of fill in, the water can't get to the pond.
Sure it can.
Well, the pond itself
It's still
has
bent.
got fill in it.
Still piping.
My other issue too is that the piece of property that was bought in 2012, and that was subsequently filled in up to the back point, across your neighbor's back of
That
their
was our-
lot, has never come in front of us for a notice of intent. And there's
Was not
there
needed.
are wetlands up in the back there that it would have encroached on a 100-foot buffer zone on that.
Correct.
And there's wetlands in the front where that pond is, and it would have encroached on it also too.
Personally, I think
There is no-
a notice of intent should have been filed on the whole property, so, this work before it started.
Right.
If that's
There was.
water under the
I
bridge.
understand that the lot 83 that was purchased way before this, and they had an order on it, we raised the order on it. I understand that one's kind of not,
And that was in front of Alex Rosanson.
that is not kind of, we've got nothing to do with that, but putting Phil on the other side, up the backside of his neighbors, that's where it comes into where 2012, it's not, that should have been done.
Yeah. There is one thing, just on jurisdiction, because we've come to this before. We can always look back into something that was decided by the Conservation Commission up to a point. So just so you know, when we do talk about something that another previous commission does, in fact, we had one poor guy come back because we were questioning something that was already decided. But the reason I asked the commissioners, because they to chat, because they had went out to have a look at it. We have an idea of the problem. We don't have an idea of the resolution. Our enforcement order did ask for notice of intent, but even the notice of intent carries with it the idea that there's a project here and a resolution. So we still have to work out some kind of resolution, I think, or maybe not us, but the people who are involved. But I know the neighbours are very keen on chatting. So if I can, is it okay to open it up, commissioners? Sure. So who wants to chat
I'd
first?
like
Mr.
to address
Reed.
this. First of all, if Mr. DeAndre bought this property in 2012 and he has paperwork from 2000, then those two things don't just mix together. So if he built the Jersey barrier directly on the property line and then filled in 4 or 5 feet of dirt and blocked the way the water normally went to the ditch that's over there on Mr. Matt McVeigh's property, he blocked the water. It's an intermittent stream. You just said the water is coming down Highland Road, going into the catch basin. It's not my water. It's everybody's water. It's the town resources water going down through my property. We cannot help it that the water is going through my property. It's not like it all came off my roof. Am I wrong?
No, that's
So
right, yeah.
the water has to keep flowing.
Mhm.
If Mr. DeAndre is supposed to come here and get a permit or whatever to put Jersey barriers behind, he might have had one to put Jersey barriers beside my property, but not behind it.
You see, I don't know if it's the Jersey barriers that's the issue. I think it's the fill.
It's
that came in
both.
after the
It is
Jersey
both.
barriers. But yeah, there was a Jersey barrier. You're talking about the kind of 2-on-2.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking the Jersey barriers that go like this, and then the 4 to 5 feet of dirt that have been packed down and blocking the natural water flow. It's an intermittent stream. You should not be able to block an intermittent stream.
Is that okay, Mr. Reed? I'll just, yeah.
I wish that, everything don't have to propose any plan to this town, to this board, to zoning board. Because it looks so easy when to become Mr. DeAndrea, because all you have to do is just do it. I have a machine, I ordered a truckload of 30 yard of trucks, 200 of them, and just dump in.
Well, are you talking about Harvard Street or are you talking about 12?
I'm talking both.
Okay,
Because
so
I
we're still on
witnessed
12 Bedford.
When I moved in, I bought the property in November 2002. It was the wetland behind Mr. Reed's yard. And I watching Mr. DeAndre keep paving yard by yard. I report to the town, to the building inspector, 2 of them, conservation came over, order cease and desist. And by that time, just like you witnessed that, it's no longer wetland because Mr. DeAndre covered them all. It was water behind his yard, but not getting to that point. But he keep paving 1 yard at a time, and finally, in 2012, he bought that property. So for his, advantage, which is, of course, he's the man trying to make money, but not concerned about our neighbor who is a residential. Exactly to Howard Street. Mr. DeAndrea using exactly the same thing that he bought the property, 1 more lot, okay, the one that next to me, I think it's about 2002 or 2005.
Okay, so I'm going to come back to you about 2 Harvard Street because I'm a simple guy and I'm only able to do one thing at a time. So if I may, I'll bring it back to the commissioners. So 1212 Bedford Street. I mean, Mr. DeAndre, what can we do? Is there? I
think we got to block the street drains, so
Yeah.
they can't, so the water can't come. How's that?
I
All right.
know, I know.
There's my solution.
It'll
How's that?
come down the street,
Drain.
it'll come down the street, go into your property though.
It's all right. Does now. Did before.
I mean,
Can I tell you something?
sure.
A while back, when there was issues with drainage with the state, there is no drains in that road, on Highland Road. I put the catch basin in the corner of Highland Road, okay? My expense to help that roadway in the water, okay? This town of Abington, okay, refused to let me put a drain across from my building to that pond for water drainage. And it was kind of the laughing stock for a while, everybody laughing about the puddle and my flooding in my parking lot, okay? Nancy, you remember all this? Nancy?
Vaguely.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, all right, so I went to the state gave me the permit to open up the road, put the drain in, okay? The town needs to do something about the drainage on the town.
Okay.
It's not up to the individual citizens or anybody else. We all pay taxes to have
Well,
things
here
done.
here we have an
Okay.
issue of fill. You put fill in a land,
That's
and whatever
because I
about
brought it
getting
to
this
grade,
intent-
which is what you need to do. It needs to be brought to a certain grade. It simulates the same grade that Matt McPhail's to the existing grade, to the street grade, all around that whole.
Would you agree
twirl.
it's like putting a block, just literally
No,
a
it's not
block
a block.
in front of the water?
I don't want any more water running across my property. Okay?
But you are responsible for handling the water that comes
I'm
onto your
telling you how to
property
handle
from
the water.
normal,
You fill it
normal
in,
flow.
and you grade it towards the street.
No, that is not how to
It
do
is how it's
And,
done.
I mean, for instance, the Crowleys were here.
That's what this commission is supposed to be about, right? Taking care of the water, not just blocking it.
And the Crowleys
Well,
were
then
here,
block it up
and
the
they
street.
were constructing a house, and the neighbours were worried about,
It's not
they
an
were
underground river.
raising up the land, and the neighbours were worried about the water coming on either side.
Right.
And that's exactly, and that didn't happen there, but that's because they came before us, and we looked at the plans, but that's exactly what happened here.
We're
You've
looking-
brought up the land, and the water has gone
We're
down.
looking for you
buffers.
to provide us a remedy to the
have.
problem that's before us. We feel it's your responsibility. Well, I do anyway. I don't know if the board
Well,
hasn't voted.
he's always had water in his property.
I'm not
Okay.
asking you to remove
All
all
right.
the
But
water
it
on his
flowed
property.
through
All right.
and kept going.
But it runs across.
Excuse me. I'm trying not to, I really don't, I think that there's a wetland there. There will be some water there. The level of water that is there is excessive and beyond what belongs there. The
It
natural
drains.
flow of water.
It
The
drains.
natural flow of water moves from property to property downhill,
Right.
and you put a block in front of it, and we're looking for you to propose a solution. I think that's really what we're saying.
I
Well,
mean,
like-
I don't think we're trying to be unreasonable. We understand you have a piece of commercial property that you want to make viable
I
and
need
good
to
and
use
everything
it.
else like that.
Right.
Do you need to use it? I just,
My solution is to block it off up on his property line. If there's water running down from that drain that the town isn't.
but now you're
maintaining.
asking him to take
But you
on the
can't-
burden of expense
You can't block it off.
that you have
No, not block off the
that you've not
the thing up
created.
at the street. I'm talking about on his property line, where it supposedly runs around the corner of his house, where Matt McPhail's property and his thing. If it's running around the corner of his house, put a couple bucket loads of dirt there and channel it to Matt McPhail's over on the
Right,
other
but-
side where it goes.
But he would be doing the same thing that you're doing now, would be just taking the water and getting it
Well,
off of
Matt
his
has got,
property.
Matt has a system he wants to put
putting in-
through.
But how about if it doesn't go into a system, it just overflows onto Matt's property?
Well, it won't. It doesn't now. All the water that comes down that hill is fed
See,
into that
the
sewer.
the problem is here, it flows downhill.
Absolutely.
It has to go someplace. It's
Then we-
gonna go across your property, because if you stop it from your property, it's gonna dam up to theirs,
I
correct?
understand that. But
So somehow, before you owned it, or whoever owned it
Matt
before you in
owned it.
2000, okay, it flowed into that pond.
Mhm.
We have to get the water to flow into that pond without ruining your property. That's what we have to do, because you can't stop the water here to make it go back up here, you're creating a dam. And you create a dam, you're gonna put water into his cellar. Now, you know I'm right.
no,
No, if you,
I don't
if you
agree,
cre-
but go
if we
ahead.
create, if you create a dam to stop the water from coming down the hill, not from just his property, but coming down the hill from Highland, because it does not flow down Highland properly, it flows onto your property. That's the natural grade of the land there. That's the
Well, we
natural
can
grade of
change
the
the
road.
grade. You can change the grade.
You can't change the road and so forth, you can't change his hill behind him.
No, not the
So
hill.
it's going to flow, and there is a stream behind the two houses going up the street, which I saw. Okay?
That's
So
in
what we
Matt's
have to
property,
do,
right?
in order to make peace with everybody,
Yeah.
is somehow get the water to go into that pond, and then when the state comes in a couple of years, and whatever they're gonna do with that pond, then the state will most likely take responsibility. That's the way I look at it.
Well, everybody's got their fingers crossed, okay? Matt, he's under an order now, he cannot do anything more than what's there.
So
They sent in
he
engineers
doesn't have to do
now.
any less either. He can let the water flow through there and hopefully not do anything to your property.
He's under an order right now, he had 90 days to stop water from going through, it's a $1,000 a day fine.
So
Okay.
even,
Well,
even
no,
if
see,
even
he's
if you
not
correct,
here, though.
I
He's
understand,
not-
well,
so we-
okay, I understand
yeah.
that.
Okay,
Okay,
so-
I had a similar letter, but showing that I have a permit for the drain that I have.
Okay.
Okay.
That's the drain down the end of
For me,
Highland.
so I'm all set.
But we can't get the water from behind
Well, I
that
don't wanna
house
run
to
it,
the...
I don't wanna run, you know, I
so
realize it's up to
you
me to.
couldn't
understand.
even run a pipe from the corner of your property where his pond is, in the back of his, 2 over to this other pond right now, because of the state order.
Right.
I think that we need to have Mr. McPhail in, and we probably need to be
Right.
supplied with
He's
that
got an
information.
idea.
I think that's.
Engineers.
Because I think what I saw from DOT was, what you're talking about sounds like something completely different than.
There's
the-
12 individuals, there's 12 properties on Route 18 that are under an order, that are under an order to, their drainage is running onto state property, whatever. Like I say, I have a permit, so my name come off the list, but I was notified the same. But there's 12, either 11 or 12 other properties. Vin and Eddie's is another one. Matt McPhail's is another one. I don't know who the other ones are. But they're sending down 2 engineers to look at the problem, to see what they're gonna do. Again, it's nothing to do with me, it's gonna be a state thing, and whatever they decide to
I thought this was
do.
Route 18 widening, which
It
is.
It
not-
is, it has to do with that.
It
What we
does,
have to
because
do
the
is-
plans we saw for that are just.
Right, but
That section was,
That's different.
I went back and looked at that section, there's nothing there.
There's nothing
They don't
there.
even have any.
What
they
we're
don't
trying
even
to
have
do
any-
tonight, though, is Highland and try to solve the problem between a
Yeah.
bunch of neighbors.
Well, I don't know if there's anything I can't run a pipe over to that pond at this point.
So you can't run a pipe
Why
over
not?
It's
there.
either that or take out
Because
the
the state,
dirt.
the state says,
The state has said not to run anything into
Anything
that
else?
pond that's in between the properties.
But it was already run into the pond, it just stopped.
But they've said he
I'd
has
say
to
take
it
stop.
wasn't
out the
piped
dirt
in
then.
there, it wasn't piped in,
Only,
it's
only on
different.
the other person's property. I didn't see a pipe that was running from your property across.
There isn't
There's
any.
no pipe.
There's no pipe there, so that's not gonna really
It's just the overland flow.
yes.
What
So
is the
if you
pipe that's
take out the
blocked?
dirt, the
If you
overland
trench
flow-
across that.
There's the pipe under
I
the,
think you take out the dirt.
No, that's McPhail's.
And when he decides to build,
That
he
McPhail's
puts a
property,
permit
not
in.
mine.
oh,
What we're trying to do is solve the problem here on the corner of Highland and the water
Well,
coming down Highland, but not.
I have to tell you,
If we dug a
I'm
trench
going-
there, he can't do that because he said.
Can I remind?
He put the dirt in,
He did.
and the dirt, if we remove the dirt, I mean, there's no permit for that dirt. So if you, the other option is just to remove all that dirt. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
you
option
gotta
2, which I
Until
really
it's
didn't.
buried.
That is.
Yeah, and take the barrier out and remove the dirt. I'm
Well,
I'm
that's
sorry,
what-
but, it's either we add a pipe or we move the dirt.
No,
What
can't
about the-
do anything right now because
the
the
problem
state.
for these people. I
What
mean, they've
about
got a
The state says they can, then let the state, take it up with the
Well,
state.
What
Let
about
me
the
remind
time?
Mr. DeAndre have been saying.
What I like to say.
Ho, everybody, ho. Before we can do anything about putting a pipe across somebody's property, that person has to be here.
Correct,
That's right.
Okay,
correct. Mr. McPhail
not-
has to come.
right, so
Or-
I think we
or
can,
his
I
representative.
think we continue this until we can have all parties available and see if we can solve this problem.
Because we're trying to find a simple solution. To
Right.
us, a pipe means you'd still have usable property.
But we also have
But
to
if
see
we
what
have
the
to-
state says.
Right,
If the state
correct.
says no,
We have to
Then
find
there's
out, we have to get information from the state now.
Right.
If this is.
Well, why is it
correct.
our problem to find information from the state? Isn't it the
no, they have
owners?
they have the information, the guy that has the
Right.
information is not here.
Isn't here.
Right.
Okay,
But you
so-
understand my point, is
Right.
it's not
Right,
our job,
exactly.
it is the applicant, well, not the applicant,
I'm
but
not,
the owners.
I'm not applying for
Well, we
anything.
The
can't
owner's
ask them,
job.
we can't ask them to do something that's illegal then.
No, but we
So
need
we
the
have
owners
to find
here.
out from the DOT.
I
what
say we
they're doing.
continue this till we can get Mr. McPhail, is that
Continue it in
right?
2 weeks.
Here, and
It's
have
not
all
waiting
parties
too
here
long.
again and see if they come to some resolution of this problem?
Yeah, I'm okay with that. The only thing is that we have an enforcement order out here. In other words, no work can be done on 1212 Bedford Street.
I'm not
I mean, we can
comfortable,
make exceptions.
I'm
you
not
know,
comfortable
but-
lifting it, I
No,
don't know
I'm
you
not
You
guys.
did, you have been doing every single day.
You're right.
Your enforcement,
But
notice
still, we should have a note on
your
the
order, cease and
the
desist.
property bought in
Nancy?
2012.
Nancy,
Okay,
excuse
I mean, we
me.
did ask for a notice of intent. So can you do us notice of intent of the, telling us how much fill you put in? Are you able to do that? Because we did ask for that. But that's
I
not
have
the
no idea.
resolution of this
You
case.
sent a letter, which addressed to,
I wish I had my stuff
I have it here, right here, actually.
give me a second. No, I know, not that. I'm talking about
Well, I'm
your,
not talking about anything else, the enforcement order. That's the thing I'm concerned.
okay, well, let's tell me, oh, no, I never got the letter from you.
You never got an enforcement order?
No, it was made out to,
The enforcement order was made to Apple Tree Realty Trust.
well, you have it sectioned with both things on there,
Appleby.
Realty Trust, and I'm not the trustee of that. And that's 2 Harvard Street.
So I,
Nothing to do with 1212 Bedford Street.
okay.
it's a little confusing here.
My
what
old
you-
darling, what do you want us to do? Do you want us to resend an enforcement order, or you just want to work with us on this? You tell me what you want to
Well,
do. I
I'd
have
like
no
to be
problem
properly
sending an
notified.
enforcement order.
I'd like to be properly
Sure.
notified.
So I'll send an
Okay.
enforcement order. Just so you know, you cannot work when there's enforcement order. You know
Okay.
that. I mean, I'm telling you.
I
I'm
told you
asking
the day that I had a fencing company coming in to do.
Yeah, you
those
can't do
poles.
it. Can't do it, Lou.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
It's a
know you
fence.
can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the problem.
It's all graded, it's all graded right now. Now, what about screening the
I know.
loom?
You
It's all
can't
done.
do any work unless you tell us. I mean, if you say,
Well, I'm
look,
telling you.
can you do me a...
I'm gonna screen the loom that's on the property, and I wanna install the fence.
So how
I
do you-
told you that before.
Okay.
I told you the day you came down.
Okay,
I
so-
said, I wanna
so
screen the
who should
loom
be
and put a
enforcement?
fence.
Okay.
We need a
So-
notice of intent for that. You can't just tell us.
Well, he said to tell him. He just said
No,
tell him.
you're right. No,
Okay.
it's all right.
Make
Put
him-
Mr. Dane Gray
So-
right.
so,
you want to screen and you want to...
Screen the loom that's there, that everybody's
Yeah.
complaining about the double layer of barriers. that are
Yeah.
there. Okay, I like to get it removed. It would have been done last year, but whatever.
What
Okay?
is the amount?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay,
let's
so
make,
it's very simple.
the sooner
You
I
have
get that done, the better I'm gonna feel about it too, so.
So you have to
okay?
do a notice of intent saying that. Okay? That's what they're saying. Is
And
that
how long
right?
will that take? Will that take 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month?
It takes as
Are
long as
you
you want.
gonna,
2 weeks.
correct that
I
problem you
sure
have?
am. Tell me, Mr. DeAndre, who are we supposed to be sending this enforcement order to?
Well, 1212 Bedford Street is Apple Tree Realty Trust.
And is that
That's-
supposed to be sent to Mr. Raymond Nichols?
No,
Because
that
he
is-
is the trustee,
Well, he resigned and I'm the new trustee.
and,
How are we supposed to know that?
yeah.
Well, if you look at the,
Trustee.
hey,
You're a trustee right now.
Listen.
You
When we
said it.
look-
Please.
just tell him to shut up.
Let's stop.
Anyway.
Stop. Everybody stop.
It's on the
who am I
property
supposed to
tax
send it
bill.
to?
if you look up the property tax bill,
It's Raymond Nichols, Apple
It
Tree
is?
Realty Trust. Yeah,
Okay.
honestly, that's what we did.
oh my God.
Right, and I looked it up on the registry of deeds, and
Yeah.
it still shows Raymond Nichols. I didn't see the trustee
I
change.
mean, of course.
Well,
I'll give
43
you
Now,
proper-
you may
43
have filed
Highland.
it, it may just not have made it
Well,
in
it's
either
been
area.
filed for years.
So-
43 Highland Road is Vincent DeAndrea, okay? 1212 Bedford Street is Apple Tree. Registry deeds, everybody didn't transfer it over, or whatever, I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
you
you
s-
didn't, you sent to Appleby Realty.
No, it says Apple Tree Trust right there.
Yeah, but did you send that in this little packet with two certifieds?
So they sent 2 certifieds in 1 envelope. Is that it?
You tell me. I never claimed it,
No.
because it's Appleby
No,
Realty.
No. Do you know
It's not
who
you?
writes that?
Who?
The post office. The post office is telling you that you have 2 certified letters, number 712 2920 15 607 0318, and number 712 2920 15 607 332. And that's
But
that's
what's the
on
same name?
Post office.
Is it the same name?
It says customer name and address Appleby 2 Realty.
Okay.
They just put the last one.
I understand, but,
That's not from us. It's from the U.S. Post Office.
right, but there's 2 letters.
And you couldn't be bothered to
One
actually
has
go
to
and
be
collect your
Apple
mail.
Tree Realty, and
You
one has
couldn't
to
be
be
bothered to
Apple.
collect your mail. Now, come on, Mr.
They
DeAndre. You
they
know,
were sent in two
there's lots of
different
other
envelopes,
problems in the world.
two different-
Oh, they're saying it's that, and it's
Well-
made out,
Can we-
they say they both say Appleby
Realty
Realty.
right now.
I can
We can-
give you a copy.
Yeah,
and I
can you
flipped
hand them
in
to
the
him
office.
now and
can.
we'll be done, right?
We
Just
Okay,
be handling it.
except for
You know, honestly, I know-
Appleby Realty, you can't.
I know what you're saying. That,
It says
I mean,
Apple Tree.
They're
just-
saying, but this one here doesn't. Okay,
That's just the
That's
notice
what
they
I was
put on
going.
your door to tell you that the,
well, that's what I'm going by.
did you go pick up the
No.
paper?
No, because I can't pick up Appleby Realty mail.
Appleby or
Okay.
Apple Tree?
So if.
Apple Tree I can, Appleby I can't.
Okay, so I'm going to send you Apple Tree. All right. So there's Apple Tree.
That's my copy.
That's your copy.
Here, Nancy, you can take, I have one here.
Don't I have this? What's this one?
I don't know,
This is
those
the-
were both my copies.
There you go.
I got one. Do you
Okay.
guys have two?
No,
That's Nancy reaching for
no,
that
but
too.
that's-
I don't want to fight over it.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, then I have a
I have
napkin.
copies here.
It's okay. It's okay. Relax.
You got, you don't need it.
Give me that one. That's my signature. Oh, that, yep.
Okay.
Okay, there you go. And there you go. All right.
Okay.
And then Appleby, where do you want to send Appleby to?
Post Office Box 387.
All right, so that's.
But that's not me.
No,
That's not
that's
the
not-
truth.
So we have to wait for somebody to pick up Appleby Realty, do we?
Yep.
Okay.
Apple Tree.
No.
No.
He's saying Appleby no.
So Appleby
Two different
actually
properties.
is, just so you know.
It's also 2 Harvard Street, and I have no idea what that has to do with wetlands. in this
All
one.
right. Just so you know, the rule is, if something's put in the mail it's
Mhm.
considered received, okay?
Exactly.
But it is an argument. You can say, that, look, I didn't get any notice of it, but I'm giving you notice now. Because we can somehow resolve this. Let's move on from 1212 Bedford very quickly to Harvard Street. Because they're slightly different, I think. It's the same issue, I think, in that fill was put in on this area. And
No.
the enforcement order says that it was put in around the wetlands, right? So let me just ask, what did you see wetlands around there when you went up to have a
We
look?
saw past his property, as a matter of fact, behind the plaza, which was put in on the north corner on the rear. It looks like that might be encroaching wetlands, but from what we were told.
That would be all the property.
Huh?
It's on the other piece
Right,
of
but
property.
from what we saw, he is well within the wetland.
Show
I mean,
you.
well before the
within-
wetland.
Well within the area.
So he's got filled all the way back to here. This is the big,
No.
this is the big lot that's right here.
This is the,
This is the big
yeah.
lot right here.
This, right, so this
That's
is.
that
this
back
is-
corner.
This is with the wetland. Now, you
That's
don't
not
own number
his?
23,
No,
correct?
no.
So this is the whole thing. He doesn't own 23.
Right.
And the wetlands, which was marked, is beyond here, because there was a
Correct.
wetlands map.
Number 6 is number 23.
Okay,
So is there fill on the lot number 6?
No.
okay, he only owns 2 and 4, correct?
Correct.
You don't own 6?
No.
So he is not he's not encroaching the wetlands.
And
He
I would
has
say-
taken trees down and the stumps there and so forth. I understand there's no notice of intent on it,
But-
but he was not,
The building inspector has put out a notice that he's used in excess of the 100 cubic yards of fill that's in there, and has changed the height of the grade maximum past what it's supposed to be by, I
Is
think
that the
it's
letter to
planning and
Russ?
zoning.
Is
Yes.
that- Yeah, actually, that
Yes.
letter was dated 2007. I looked at that letter afterwards. That's dated
No,
2007. So I think the
that whole
building
thing's
inspector
changed.
has-
Marshall's
yeah.
been there,
In fact, the
Marshall's
building
been there, said
inspector-
everything's fine.
In fact, the building inspector, our present building inspector, doesn't believe that you need any
No.
permits.
It's
for
it's
fill.
100
Would that be
yards of
right?
refuge, which means trash.
It's not. It's
Well-
in the charter that it says it's anything more than 100 yards of fill.
but didn't you say you had permission from the selectmen?
Yeah. From the building
You
inspector.
have a permit
He
from the
told me I
selectmen.
didn't need, no, he told me I didn't need it.
But you need to go in front of the selectmen to get anything over
Marshall
100
told me I
yards.
didn't need it.
Marshall's not
Can
the
I make a
selectman and he's not
suggestion?
going by the
Just
charter, I
because it's
understand.
really not our issue.
Well, I'm all
I
done with
think
anyway,
that
so
It's
we're all
not
set.
an issue, right?
The
Kathy?
simple thing would be for us to advise the selectmen that we noticed there was a large amount of fill on these two properties, 2 Harvard Street and 1212. And, it's up to them to decide whether the bylaw applies or not. I don't
Yeah.
think it's our jurisdiction, and I don't think we should be arguing about that at this
Okay.
point, because it's really not our jurisdiction. I think that's the
you're
selectmen's.
right. And actually, in fairness, Mr. Dean Gray, I have chatted to the selectmen all about this, and their building inspector refuses to enforce that law because he doesn't think it applies. Right?
That's right.
He doesn't think it
That's,
applies.
but that is
But
a matter of
that's
the
nothing
selectmen.
to do with us.
So my
But I-
question is that I don't think that he has encroached on wetlands at this point. I
No.
would agree.
Right.
I actually, on this property, I
No.
have an opinion. But I do, I guess my real question is how far away is he from the wetlands and where's that 100-foot buffer line?
Oh, he's well within his rights.
Yep.
We
Yeah,
were
I
up
think
there.
I thought he was.
Yep.
This
That
is on
he's
Harvard- on
over
Harvard.
100
There
feet.
still has to be a wall built there, a retaining wall.
But that is a matter for
It's,
zoning and
I
planning
understand, no,
and all
I know,
that.
there's nothing to do with wetland.
I
I'm
mean,
far enough away.
I'm just
not in
trying
any
to
wetlands.
point out that I didn't feel like, somebody else may have another opinion, that particular property really wasn't within our jurisdiction.
No.
Right,
And,
I
and
agree.
I saw this as recently as today, and I didn't think that there were any wetlands that were encroached or a buffer zone. I mean, and now admittedly, of all the people here at the board, I'm the least knowledgeable about this, but I certainly didn't think that the wetlands too, so I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think that one was fairly clear. I had a, comment about the quality of fill on those properties, and
Right.
I noticed asphalt
Oh.
and concrete. I just wanted to mention that as well while we're here, particularly on the 1212. But this one, for me, this does not apply to us, but I don't
So
know.
the very first question I always ask is the resource area, and we don't have a resource area.
I think so. I don't think we have jurisdiction.
Would we agree? Do you all agree to
Yeah, there's
that?
no resource area.
Okay.
No.
I'm gonna, but still, we are here today, and there are butters here, so
Well,
how about two?
I just
Yeah.
don't understand that this is
and this order was useless for Mr. DeAndre. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He ignored that, so pretend here and there. I hope that, he should bring in the plan before he fill in, because he keeps saying that he's going to build a house there. He can't build a house. That's the first thing, because based on I know, he never can build a house because the lot not enough. Even he bought another one in 2004 or 5, I don't recall exactly. And again, he using the 2000 thing that, just exactly similar to Mr. Reed's. And, is in with flooded my house. He put jersey barrier, he put his own drainage. He made by himself, because he said that he know how and just put a little tiny drainage. Mr. Reed's family, the son-in-law will have to help me out.
Is your house flooded at the front of your house or the back?
The jersey barrier exactly just like his jersey barrier on my backyard. And if you look at my house, it's so high that you can't believe that nobody get flood except my house because of him.
But is there water coming down the back of your house?
In fact, he joked on me that I make a flood claim and the insurance not paying me. Just yesterday, he made fun of me.
He says he had a washout. He said he had water in his basement, all because I had dirt on that thing for the retention.
Right.
There's a French drain put in that was asked by one of the other building inspectors. So look, just put a French drain in here so the water will be dispersed off on either side.
That's not true.
Well, that's what's there. I can show you a French drain that's there. It's encased, it's a plastic pipe encased in stone that has opens on each end. The water goes out one end, water goes out this end.
And is that all coming down from top of Highland down?
Well,
that's a hill anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't make that hill.
Right,
that hill was a lot higher. That hill was a lot higher before I took the grade down.
5 feet more, 5 feet more at least that he put in since I moved in 2002. You have to see the Jersey barrier, okay? The Jersey barrier has been ordered by Sean Cutter, the late Sean Cutter, 2007, and Jeffrey Douglas. Order him to remove that jersey and the dirt by not using paperwork, in fact, to use from his back of his building and bare right to pick up all those dirt and come back toward his land. Never allow him to use the paperwork at all. I have the paper. I still have that order.
So let me bring
he's bringing up nothing to do. He's talking about the paper road and having the use of the paper road. I own half the street. He owns half the street by deed.
But it's
But we can use. Excuse me, I'm speaking. We both get to use.
Too.
Yeah, it is.
Well, is it his turn or my turn?
It's your turn for now.
Okay.
You're doing paper road. Yeah.
The right-hand side of the road, okay, I get to use because my property butts it. Because of the 2 lots at the top of the hill, I have full use of the left side of the road.
Okay, so you're talking about the road that goes up
the back,
house.
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
First of all, I show him to the town when Sean Cutter still alive in that time. He's supposed to bring the proposal, the blueprint, the plan. What he going to do with paper road? What he going to do on his backyard, on my backyard? And I have paper. The town, Nancy has that.
Okay, although, I have to stop you there, both of you there, because as Mr. Feeney was trying to point out, it's not actually our area.
Right.
This is not really what we're
I really
I mean,
think
it is zoning, but it's not our.
But the elevation, though, sir.
it's plain
The
zoning.
elevation that I concern because the areas, the elevation that causes.
He's got nothing to do with wetlands,
It's just too far from any wetland for
Right.
us to really have any jurisdiction on.
What about the water?
But where's the water coming from and going to?
This-
Across the street, it's coming from a wetland going to a wetland, so.
I think that you guys should, the board should go there, take a look one more time. All right, since
But again,
March 29th.
If you look at these, because we printed them out in color, so we have to look at them.
This is back in,
But these are no wetlands.
yeah, this is back into, it's have nothing to, I tried to explain that.
Yeah.
This is original one. How about today? Take a look at today.
But
Go back there.
I
take a
know,
look.
he's putting fill in, but
I think what you're gonna have to do is when Mr. DeAndre goes in front of the planning board to build whatever he's gonna build, you bring up all your complaints and so forth and your questions at that time. but the planning board has engineers and so forth that will make it do it properly. And Mr. DeAndre will have an engineer show up, and it really has nothing to do with this board at this time, because he's not in a wetlands area.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. That's what I want. Actually, I want him to bring up, that's back in
Well, he's
2007.
going to do that. He's
That's
going to do that.
back in 2007. He
Right.
never did that. He came out with the blueprint,
Right.
homemade blueprint. And Nancy know that, right? He can't.
Poor Nancy.
Poor
Nancy.
She's a recording secretary, she's not very.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
This is now is near Badland, that's what
I understand. I'm going to have to, so I'm going to, on
I'd
2
like to make
Harvard
a-
Street, if I may,
yeah.
I'm going to take it back. Is that okay? We're going to take it back from the floor. We're going to bring it to the Conservation Commissioners. What do you want to do with 2
I'd like
Harvard
to,
Street?
as far as 2 Harvard Street goes, I would like to make a motion that we close the hearing on that.
I think we lift the
That's-
enforcement
lift the
order,
enforcement order.
perhaps?
And lift, yeah.
Lift the
Okay.
enforcement
Yeah.
order,
Lift
is
the
that?
enforcement order first.
and-
Do I have a
and-
second?
Second?
All those in favour?
Aye.
Okay, so
No,
it's
but
really
it's
because
part-
it's not our jurisdiction. That's fine.
Yeah, I know, but the enforcement, so that means no good.
Right. So
It
that-
me-
that-
it means
it's-
we can still
it's-
build on-
It's a
on
planning
that.
board issue at this
Yeah.
point.
We're talking about 2 Harvard Street at this point.
Right, 2 Harvard
Just let's be
Street.
So
clear.
what-
1212, we didn't remove.
So what are we going to do?
Elevation, not
What do you-
the area.
No, no.
Do you want us to amend the
Dennis?
enforcement order?
I would like to then add that on 1212 Bedford,
Actually, sorry, can I have a motion to close the hearing on 2 Harvard?
we just did.
We
Took
did?
a vote.
Oh, we did, okay, yeah, all right.
Yep.
Do we do that, the closing? Yeah, okay, so in 1212, what do you suggest?
1212 Bedford Street with continuation with all the butters, and the,
All owners,
all owners, yes.
trustees, owners, representatives,
And
whatever.
the enforcement order to be still enforced.
I'll second that.
All right, before we vote on that though, I mean, is there work that you need to do on that land on 1212?
Yeah, I'd like to be able to screen the loom.
Screen the loom. So would that affect what we're talking about
No.
here, where he's putting in?
I'm taking it and removing it from that section of the water on that side.
Where are you putting it?
I'm going to be, you know that front corner with the
I don't want
posts?
him placing,
No.
no, if he's
It's
gonna remove,
screened
if he's
loom.
gonna remove it off-site,
No, no.
I'm cool with it. I don't wanna be
It's
moving.
the dirt that's
in-
on there that's going to be screened. It's loom.
No,
It's not
it's
gravel.
work on the property.
No, I wanna, no, an enforcement, or, I mean, a notice of
Okay.
intent.
And who do we need to be, who do Nancy and I need to contact to be here for the next meeting? Which should be as soon as possible. We need your
Just me.
neighbour. Well, and your neighbour, what's the poor guy with the pond?
Oh, Matt
Yeah.
McPhail.
Matt McPhail, okay.
He's a local.
What's he, 1200?
He's 12, he's 1200.
And is there anybody else?
I think it's co-owned with his wife.
No, it's his sister, I think.
Oh, it's his
I think
sister.
his wife and his
I
sister.
don't know, there was 2 names on the,
What's the other name, you remember?
on the register.
Trouble and strife and assistance.
I don't remember.
Okay.
I think it's
All right,
his
is there
sister.
anybody else that we need? And
I don't know.
leads, okay. So, but let's put it, because we have
Do you
enforcement
need the-
order,
do
let's
you
have
need the
it.
van bonders?
Pardon?
Do you need the van bonders? The van bonders?
The van bond.
Yeah, the other people. You need them to be here.
Are they direct about it to you?
He tried to
No.
joke on me.
No.
I mean, is
That's
family
him.
here?
Yeah.
Beg pardon, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, certainly, because you're butters too, are you? You're
No,
across the
he's
road.
across the street. There's
Oh, he's
nothing to do
across the
with it.
street.
There's nothing to do with it.
So, I mean.
It's a
certainly
public
don't have
meeting,
to
he's
be-
allowed
It's
to
a public
come.
meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, certainly a public meeting. All right, but you know, it's an enforcement order, so honestly, I would like it to be as soon as possible. So when's the next available date that we can do it under the open meeting law?
The 13th.
The 13th of May.
Yeah.
So the 13th of May okay with you?
If you can bring us any of the information you got from the state.
Mr. Mr.
saying
Reed, is that
cease
okay
and
with you?
desist.
I got nothing.
Do
Oh,
you understand
I have
the
my
hearing
letter
on
from
the
them.
whole
Yeah, if you
thing?
can.
Telling
You
me.
can bring that.
It'd be helpful, have any letters, anything that,
Well, they don't.
from the state, whoever.
I
just
don't know
We
what I
have to
did
ask
with my
the
letter.
McPhails to do.
Just so you know, when the Conservation Commission doesn't know what to do, they call in experts. And the poor homeowners and landowners actually have to pay the cost, because we don't have any money. Abington doesn't have any money. So our Conservation Commission has always tried not to do that. We've tried to work with the people, because you're all experts here of the area. You know, you're a contractor, you know what's happening.
I know.
And so we try to do that. But if you put us in a corner, that's what's going to happen, is we're going to have to bring in experts to try and work it out. So,
I've
you know, let's not
been
do
to the
that.
health board about a mosquito pit
Right.
that needs to be corrected, okay? So, the best element all the way around is to just fill a hole and grade it to the
It's
street.
considered a wetland, and we can't.
It's not a wetland, it's not,
Can we
it's
have a
not a
motion?
wetland, it's not a wetland.
Well-
It's on the graph, it shows the wetlands.
Doesn't matter.
On my it doesn't matter.
Although,
Nope.
Mr. Reed, there's no wetland.
You have an engineered report, says otherwise.
Like Dennis just said, what's gonna happen
Doesn't-
is,
it's not
Sorry, Dennis,
if we
that was my
can't
fault.
resolve
It
this
doesn't make a
I'll get a
difference.
copy.
between
It's a
neighbors,
record.
No,
It's
it's,
we're gonna
I
have to
checked
do
the
some
record.
engineering,
It's not
or
there.
botanists
Check
come in
the
and so
answer.
I did.
forth.
Check
I
with
she
Joe.
gave it to me.
She's been
There's
to
no
show
record
this.
of that being there.
Well, I got
Show
your
us.
copy.
What it is, you have to
trying to
bring it
avoid
to the
that
meeting.
I
cost.
did.
You did not.
I
That's what
did.
it comes down
They
to.
don't have
Ask
it.
Alex
That's what
Bonanza.
my
I saw all of it, I saw it all. Alex
Okay,
Bonanza,
can I have a
the chairman of the
motion
board.
to continue that hearing? A motion to continue the hearing on
Well, it's
1212
his land.
Bedford Street.
Yeah, but he's gonna have to.
Motion to continue the hearing on
Thank you.
1212
On my
Bedford Street.
land.
Jerry, your
On the
second.
land where he's talking about
To
putting
May
dirt.
13th.
Matt's
All
beyond the
those in
stone
favour?
wall.
No,
It's
I'm
not
talking-
mine.
Mr.
talking
Noonan,
Highland.
Kathy, all
I-
in favour
there's a
of
motion on
Highland part.
There's a motion on the floor to continue the hearing until.
Okay,
Okay, and we
Excellent.
can't, we're not gonna talk about this anymore.
All those-
okay.
All in favor? All right.
Is there anybody else? Are you here? Which one is this? You're in 1212. There was Mr. Kelleher.
Yes,
I got a call on something.
Are we
is
all
it
set
16
with
Collins
Mr.
Street?
DeAndrea?
Yes.
We are. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you for
Two
coming.
things.
Now, you're gonna give me a
Go
rescind letter? Will it be 2 months from now? Yes. Or will it be, the last one I got was 2 months later?
Check the mail.
I just wanna make sure I get something, if I don't care if it's hand scratched,
As soon as you get it
okay,
from
I
me.
can get it tomorrow. if
I'll do it
possible.
tonight. I'll try and do it tonight, okay?
As soon as they get it from Dennis.
Not a problem, thank you.
I'm the one
Nancy,
who takes the time.
make
Sorry
sure you
about
know
that.
where
I
you're
don't wanna make
supposed
you
to
drive
mail
me
it.
tough. What?
Where are we supposed to mail it?
P.O. Box 387,
To who?
attention to me.
Just
It's
to
at
you?
DeAndrea Apple Tree Realty.
Apple Tree Realty, okay.
And I,
Apple Tree.
That's Applebee, really.
No,
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 Apple
apple
Tree.
tree, tree, that's why he was
there's
upset.
2 apple trees.
But
43.
who's 1212 Bedford?
That's
It's Apple Tree.
That's Apple Tree.
So, but to Harvard is Applebee, isn't it?
That's right, yeah, somebody else.
So will I be sending it to Applebee?
No.
Wait a minute,
send it
hold,
to me,
hold,
I'll
hold.
get it to Applebee.
I see, okay.
In that case, I'll take care of it. Okay?
All right, that's okay.
Thanks.
That's okay. We'll look after it. Not a problem. So, Mr. Keller, what was your issue? You went.
which one?
I have here it's 16 Coleman Street, but it was trees that were cut down.
All right.
Trees. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Are you referring to,
I couldn't believe
No.
it.
Linwood Street or,
Okay, you can't have it.
Wilbur?
I don't know. It was a lady who called me
just-
up.
That I went down to her
Yeah.
house, that's Linwood Street.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
I'm
I-
kind of disappointed because when I look at the first two
Yeah.
person, showing, wetland, those kind of thing. And this is very frustrated when, I went
Okay,
to.
Dennis, Dennis, we've
okay,
closed the
we're all
hearing.
done with this, number one.
Right.
And number two,
Actually,
you can
we
do
have to-
exactly what those other people did and hire an engineer. to
No,
solve-
what I'm saying is, I go
No, I
to the
think
building
we should-
inspector,
Okay.
and then the
Yeah.
building
Decision.
inspector,
And
the building
could you bring your
inspector told
comments
me.
to our meeting in 2 weeks? We do want to hear from you, but
Okay.
we've closed the hearing and we're really not supposed to continue
It's an
talking
open
about it
meeting law. We have a law.
without the
We're
applicant
supposed
being
to
here,
do it.
so.
Yeah.
You're right.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
very
night.
much,
Good
appreciate
night.
it.
Thank you. All right. So what was the story about the trees being cut down? Do you remember that one?
41 Wilbur?
That's I think it was 41 Will.
Well,
Because I
I
told
came
you-
in the other
yeah.
day and asked Nancy to find
Okay,
the record of it.
I looked through requests for determination and notices of intent, and I don't see anything for Wilbur Street.
So this is the lady who said, I don't have wetlands because I went to the assessor's board and they said that I don't have wetlands because they wouldn't let me take the assessment. Is that the lady? Is this the case? I remember the case. Okay, right. But I am going to tell her that really the assessor's board isn't really, they might have asked for Nancy for a file and we didn't have the file.
I believe that if you go to the assessors, they will tell you if there is wetlands, and they're not going to charge you a.
How good is that? Yeah, and they wouldn't let this poor woman get that offset.
Abatement.
Right, the abatement. So what do we have to worry about anything? Are we all set?
Was there a problem with what she did? Did anybody look at the property?
No.
Oh, yeah, I think it's wetlands, and
Did you
they
did you
have
Google
trash
Maps?
and rubbish in it, and it's a mess.
They have trash and rubbish.
What address was it?
41 Wilbur,
Where's Wilbur?
Who's Wilbur?
up Rockland Ave.
How far down?
On the left, street before, probably after Robbins Ave on the left.
Oh, okay. All right. Might be worth
Yeah,
it.
but it is, this is only my opinion. I went there, I thought it was
Do
wrong.
we need to issue an enforcement order?
Well, if she doesn't have any records of them, I don't know what can be done, to tell the truth.
Well, we can do we need to do an enforcement order to stop her from cutting wood, or should I do a letter to her asking her to?
To be honest, I don't know, because if I had the paperwork like this here for the Linwood Street situation, then you could say that something's in the record. That's a house was built by humanity, and
oh, right.
I was told by someone that the property behind her yard is all wetlands. You can see it.
Yeah.
And she says no. So what am I to say? It is or isn't. We don't have any records.
Well, yeah, I mean, we can do an enforcement order to her if you think that she's done something to the wetlands, or I could send a letter saying, could you come? She was going to come to the meeting tonight.
Why don't we send her a letter?
Send
And
her a
by
letter.
by that
Yeah.
time, we'll have had a chance to go look at the site, because it's 43 Wilbur.
Okay.
And maybe
That's a good idea.
that's
Thank you.
probably a nice way.
Good. Good.
It's a
Thank
nice
you.
way to do it, because I
appreciate
don't
that.
want to.
Well, what happens, the situation is, I went there, I was directed by the town office, I went on the property, I turned around, came out, knocked on her door, nobody answers, I'm walking away, she opens the door and asks who I was, I said my name, where I was from, why I was there. He says, well, we have no wetlands, and so I said, well, I'm not here to argue about that, I just was asked to come down and look out back, and I did.
Okay.
And well, why you on my property? He says, well, when I get a call, I have a right to walk on their property.
Right.
So, but after that, I don't know, I don't want to get involved in.
Okay. Although
either I'm going to have a badge or something, but I'm not going to go
And I
anymore
actually chatted
to do
to
it.
the
With your
clerk.
cards.
The clerk is this terrific person, and
write your
she
name in it.
actually has a resolution for all of us on that.
Well,
she's going to do a little note that says we're a member, because the town manager, selectmen still haven't got around to giving us our identity cards. So she's going to do a little thing saying we're members of the conservation. Dennisburg is a member of the Conservation Commission.
I mean, if it's not that hard to get an ID.
Well,
Can I get a badge made up, maybe?
it would be nice to
Or
get
a hat.
The Board of
A
Health
hat
have
would be
badges.
best.
I want a badge.
The Board of Health have badges.
I want the hard
Do they
hat.
really?
Yeah,
I
they
want the
do.
hard hat.
Well, just ask them how they had them made and get some. But I won't do it again, I'll tell you right now.
You know, I actually think little business cards might.
We have those.
No, there's no
We have
good.
those in the office,
It's no good.
but it doesn't have our names
They're
on it.
Mickey
It's
Mouse.
supposed
Oh,
to-
but they
It's
don't have
no
our
good.
names on them.
I won't use it, I won't go on it.
We have money, why don't we just get
Yeah.
our own cards made up?
We could do that. We talked about that.
I was
doing
talking with a
cards.
friend
And
today.
we have the letter from the
They
clerk
can
to
do.
put in our
They can
back
do a
pocket.
little thing from the clerk, and she can.
They have
she
a
does it
bylaw
for-
on it, you know.
Yeah, she does
But
all the
other than
things
that, it's-
to stamp it.
I mean, the lady was right, I mean,
Don't worry, Jerry. We'll get one for you. I mean,
Maybe.
if you want to, you can go down to the if you're free sometime to the clerk's office, and she'll have it all there for you. She's terrific. She said she would do that.
Did you speak to her?
I did.
I think
Oh,
maybe
you
a
did?
blazer,
Yeah.
like
Oh,
okay. She's
Concom on the
terrific.
back
She's
for like
all
the
set.
FBI.
Do we
We'll
need
get-
to talk
we'll
about
get yellow
16
vest
Coleman
with
Street?
Well, let's go to this one.
16
Want
Coleman
another
Street. Is 16 Coleman Street okay? You were doing the work.
Coleman, yeah.
That's okay. Okay. So the only other correspondence. Well, I went to the revisions to the Mass DEP Wetlands, Waterways and Water Quality Certification Regulations, and I'd like to take the next hour to tell you all about it. Actually, maybe I would like to do a little note to you and send it to you for the next meeting. Is that all right?
Yes.
But I got to tell you, there was nothing. The only thing that was interesting was about notice to the wetlands. And what I'm going to do, if I may, is do the correspondence for our next meeting. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's
Oh,
just-
actually,
those
walk
are
tomorrow.
quickies.